Good evening. Oh, Bill Hicks was great. I really liked Bill. Thanks for sending it my way. He was, you know what he reminded me of was especially that Bill Hicks you sent me of a really bad show where everyone's heckling and reminded me of John. You know, and if John could channel that energy that's in him, he could be like Bill Hicks. But I don't think that'll be. And that kind of goes to the story. But I'll tell you a story. And that is that our society is built on this kind of Luciferian motif. It's so sad because this great potential of our love's free will is always beaten down, for chump change. And that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about tonight. I'm going to be first. I don't know if you were on for this morning's chat. I basically spoke to the ideas of society's constant negative nagging of that you're a sinner, you're no good. And I kind of spoke to my experience going to how I got to be in New Mexico. Right? And so, the first 20 minutes or so, I will give a more specific, because I was going to bing, bing, bing. It's like Donald Trump going, boom, bong, bing, boom, bing, 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 bing. But, I'm a better storyteller than he is. Even with my griotness of being all over the place, I can make a point. And so I'm going to, first 20 minutes or so, tell that story. And then kind of, at a certain point, I basically will take us. I met Grandfather David there at the Four Corners. Grandfather David was one of the elders who held the knowledge of the Hopi prophecy. So here we are. I'm going to, at 4 minutes and 44 seconds, I'm going to just get right into it. And the two of you will be sitting down there hearing the story, and people can catch up later. There we are, 4:44. So, I grew up in New York at just the perfect time, and I sounds good, okay, and I had great, if I have any talent, it is to be in the right place in the right time, and as long as I'm serving love's co-creation, no matter what curveball is thrown me, it works out. So, you can go back and watch all the videos about all the curveballs. But this one starts where I'm in New York City. Soho is becoming Soho. It's the early 70s. I've been in Soho since 69. I was one of the first people there. Had some great lofts there. Got involved with the art world. I helped build OK Harris and Brooke Alexander, and I met Phil and Jane Baer, the Una Bear Gallery, and so and Richard Helm of the Ear Inn, and these are all entities that not only did I help build them, I was helped make them and brought them to reality. So in that, I was also in the theater, and I was at the time up at Lincoln Center at Juilliard, and I was basically working at Vivian Beaumont Theater, but hanging out at Juilliard. I met a great dancer, right? And so we were living together downtown because I had a really nice loft. She liked that. That was the first, wow, this is great. And on Spring Street, Robert Wilson of the Robert Wilson Dance Company had his little loft where he had his dance company. And she kind of got into that by just, being on Spring Street, right? And and our loft was just down the street from Spring Street. Just off of Spring, Worcester and Spring. And so and I helped put together food with the girls. It was their GC and their electrician and their mystic, and that was those two Jewish girls. They knew how to. They both went to Radcliffe and Smith, and they had real education. But what did they end up doing? Started a business, and there was no real restaurant. They were the first. It was called Food, and it was that. They made 3 or 4 soups and had those big Jewish sandwiches, and they baked all the bread and baked all the cakes and had really good coffee, and they made a fortune on the women coming in from Westchester to, this new place called, we can eat it. It's Soho, and we can eat it food, so anyway. So life was good. We had a really nice time, and it was about 71, give or take. And I had, finished high school, did my college thing, was still kind of staying out of the way of my draft board. And that was one of the good things of living in Soho. I had no real address, and no one really went down there except for a few folks. So they weren't looking for me. Anyway, long story short, she gets in the Robert Wilson Dance Company because she's a great dancer. And she had studied at Juilliard, and she had studied with other dancers, and she wanted to do more modern dance rather than ballet. So anyway, that was perfect. She liked it. She was like better than pretty much anybody. She got a lot of attention. She liked that. And Robert had this thing called free dance, meaning so on Thursdays, it was a style he did, but Thursday was open house. People come and dance, and that's how he got a lot of other people who were part of the company. That's how I met Phil Glass. Anyway, so she brought me to meet him, and I'm Mr. Electrician, Mr. Lighting guy, Mr. Set guy, Mr. Massage guy, Mr. Physical Therapist guy, Mr. You name it guy, and he liked that. So he fix that, do this. And I could dance, and I didn't want to be part of his dance company per se, focused on dance, because I wasn't. But I could dance, and the free dance was really great, and I was very energetic on the Thursday night free dance. So when he decided, he had these dreams of doing, he was what I call a trustafarian, Robert Wilson Dance Company. And he ran through all his trust doing that. And then His family kind of died, and the only person that was in his family that had money was this guy named Chris Nolan. Kid he was in his, he was a little older than I was, but he had autism, and he was about a 7 year old, and he had issues. I had worked, and so so Robert had me. The kid moved in. Robert had his Spring Street loft, and that was where the dance company was. And Chris had an apartment that his parents had set up in forever. And he had lived there and felt comfortable, and everybody, the doorman, all that, they know Chris. And in that neighborhood, Chris was comfortable. And Robert said, you could, Chris needs someone to take care of him and watch after him, be with him. And if you can do that, there's money in his trust for somebody like that. And you could, And at a certain point, I was like, oh, okay. So I, met him, liked him. We got along real well. And so I didn't spend every minute of every day with him. I didn't quite move in. I had my own place, and I was doing other stuff. So, but a good deal of the week, I would spend a number of days with him, right? And we would go out, and we would, interact with people and go shopping, and as I hung out with him, he was truly an amazing guy because he was also Asperger, along with being having he would just, and all of these things that people give titles for, like Asperger's, it's not one thing. It's like a smorgasbord of stuff. And so it was like Chris's subconscious was just playing out to the public. And it made a lot of people uncomfortable because he said stuff, and he had this way of seeing things that were really happening, and then just start talking. Why is that? He'd go on and on about, he could just cold people like unbelievable. And he would make these connections between actions of people and the actions of our society. And at a certain point, he was like profound. So I had a tape recorder, always, like just like this phone. And when I had an idea, I would tape it, so I wouldn't forget it if I didn't write it down. And sometimes, say it back, listen to it, and write it. Thanks. So Chris started doing this. I was like, whoa. And so I got a tape recorder for him, and I made it. It was one of those tape recorders that was when someone was speaking or music was going. You could have it on record, and it would stop if it didn't hear anything. And so I had this, and so I was recording all of his stuff. As soon as he would start talking, the thing would go on, and then I was like writing it down, and it was like profound. And after a number of weeks of this, I said to Robert, man, listen to this. I mean, here I wrote all of Chris's stuff. Chris is, oh yeah, when he talks. I said, yeah. If you don't spend any time with him and you don't listen to him, well, I do. Look at this. And he was like blown away. He said, wow, this is amazing. This fits right into this. I want to do an opera about our society and ballet and blah, blah. So, well, if you need a libretto, boy, this guy's it. So I spent a number of more weeks with Chris writing it and copying it and giving a little book that I wrote the stuff down in in a cursive that people could read. My handwriting, something I can't even read my handwriting. Anyway, so Chris kept talking, and Robert, I gave him the stuff, and Robert was writing his operas. And then he decides that he doesn't really have the money to put on the operas the way he wants to. So he kind of, he was kind of a thing in New York. So he put out, again, this is another concept of the Traveling Video Art Service. He gets a old bus, and he puts out a thing to the rich and a feat. Hey, I'm Robert Wilson of the Robert Wilson Dance Company, and we'd love to come to your rich community and perform for you. And that's exactly what we did. So we traveled around colleges and rich people's clubs, and we would do this. And he would get between $1,000 and $10,000 per performance. And I went along for the ride because my girlfriend was going along for the ride, and I felt like a road trip. And it was another way to keep an eye on Chris and keep getting his dramaturge anyway, and getting him closer. He liked the trip, and he liked the people, and he liked the attention, and so he so we were all around, and we were heading west. And it was getting towards, we started out in, I don't know, March. And so by the time we hit New Mexico, it was getting to be warmer, springer, less winter. And we were in Santa Fe, and we were performing for this rich guy. He had a really big, very much Adobe traditional house with Vegas, the whole thing, the center courtyard, and a big fence around it, and that was Santa Fe, the city of fences. All the rich people had their houses fenced in. Anyway, so we did our thing, and we were hanging out, and everyone was like, "Oh, because we were supposed to be a collective, right?" And people were, just, "Oh, we're so liberal. We believe in everything. Art is it. Blah 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 blah." Right? So we're at this guy's house. We're all we're kind of cooking and getting ready for dinner, and Robert gets a phone call, and it was from the Shah of Iran. And Iran is Persia. Persia is probably the most cultured place on the planet. Goes way back before Egypt and everything else. So they had the Persian Empire that didn't fall until World War One, and it still really didn't fall. So after World War II, the U.S. CIA and the British MI6 went in there and deposed the, legally, democratically voted in, president and established government, and they were not, Muslim radicals. They were basically very much, what's the right word, when you're non-religious, sectarian. And they were all technocrats, they were all doctors and lawyers and scholars, and that's what they wanted to make. They wanted to bring back the Persian Empire. And the oil had been discovered there, and BP, British Petroleum, was in there doing their thing, along with the French, and they nationalized everything and kicked them out. Now, they weren't freaking communists. They were nationalists. They wanted, Iran to be Iran for Iran. And so, we were having the Cold War, so we called them commies. And they were not commies. And they were not socialists. I mean, the United States is more socialist. We have a socialist corporate state. We don't have capitalism. We have a corporate state. Big diff. So anyway, they... depose the government, have a coup, kill the guys out of Iran. That had no legitimacy whatsoever. And so, he was like a sock puppet. So he was in there, and he did exactly what, British Petroleum and Exxon and Gulf told him to do. And he spent all of the wealth of that oil. Instead of giving it to the people, he bought weapons from the United States and England and France. He got jet planes and tanks and nobody. And he got more and more authoritarian, and he wanted to be modern, right? So the Iranian culture has this big holiday, like for a month. It's right near Ramadan. So, and then at the end, this thing kicks off, and it's a big celebration of Persian culture, and everything, the carpets, the art, the dance, the music, you name it. And they have, all through their country, they do this. So the Shah says, well, we're a modern democracy, so forget all this old stuff. I'm going to bring in European artists to do this. And this holiday was a mixture of the sectarian life of Iran and the culture of Iran, the Persian culture, and Islam, And so, it's like what Christians do with Christmas, but way nicer. And so he basically makes a, executive order that this is what's going to happen. And he invites all these European artists. And Robert gets a phone call. And, he's offering Robert $2 million in cash and all expenses paid. So Robert gets off and, okay, we're packing up. We're going to Iran. I said, what? And I said, that guy's a pig. We can't go there. We're all our art is about public art. All our art, and Robert just cuts me off. He goes, listen, they're offering me. He doesn't say us. Me $2 million in expenses. Everyone who wants to be rich and famous, get on the bus. And I said, we're a collective. We're supposed to consent about these things, And he goes, everybody wants to be rich and famous, get on the bus. So I said, well, I'm going to block this. We can't go. I'm going to block. I'm going to be a Stalinist obstructionist. And he just kind of rolls his eyes and goes, everybody wants to be rich and famous, get on the bus. And everyone gets on. Even my girlfriend, she gets on. And she goes, but come on, it'll be fun. We'll go to Iran and yeah. And I said, no, come on. I got, that guy's a killer. He's like, he's a puppet for the corporate state. I was, I was 22, so I was kind of that. And I had a lot of people tell me all about this from the inside out, not some chucklehead at a university. Anyway, so I didn't go. Now, we were in this rich guy's place, and he was like going on about how he's a socialist and he's like all for the people, and he shares and he's so doubted and consenting. And as soon as I left, he told me to get out, and I said, "What?" And I said, "It's like 11 in the evening," and he goes, "Get out! I don't want you here. Get out! You're a rabble rouser." I said, "But you're just talking about it. Get out! You just said you were get out. You said you were a liberal. Get out." I am a liberal. And I just shook my head. I said, well, I have like 10 cents to my name. He says, get out. I said, can you give me $10? No, get out. I said, you're a millionaire. You can give me, get out. So he walked, he had staff there, walk me out, and open the gate and basically go get out. Walked out. And this is in 71, 72 when Santa Fe was a small little town. And so, I'm walking down the road and I'm walking towards the highway, Interstate 25 that goes north and south. And where his place was laying all downhill. And once I got a few blocks away from his neck of the woods, it was all open space. And you could see the interstate and all the cars going around. But it was 11 o'clock, so there weren't too many rooms, just headlights every now and then. So I'm walking, and I look up, and the sky it was like a Vincent van Gogh painting. I'd never seen stars like that. It was like, holy moly. And I just got this feeling of, I had nothing in my pocket, not a dime. I at least had a nice dinner there that I helped cook before, we took off, and they took off, and I was thrown out. And so I had this epiphany, this feeling of freedom, of letting go. I didn't have to be the dude like I was in New York. I didn't have to do anything. It was like a clean slate. It was pretty freaking amazing, clean slate. And that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I just had this elation in my heart, just... I knew all kinds of things were going on, and and I had tried over the years to get involved, do this, do that, make things happen, and I had this realization that wasn't the calling of my life. That calling of my life is about the experience of this life. That's what this life, and that's what our lives are about. It's about this life and what we do with it. And being a lawyer, doctor, or making mommy and daddy proud, or making a lot of money, getting a big... None. It's what you do with it, on the day-to-day. So I'm just lighting up. I mean, this is like a feeling I've had, you know, and I've known what it was, and I've had mentors and teachers and people who were there for me to show me these experiences and what they were. And what happened? Anyway, so oh, there it is. So I'm walking towards Interstate 25, and it's, you know, by the time I got thrown out of the rich guy's place, it was like almost, you know, 11:20. And by the time I got down to I-25, it was probably past midnight. And there was really no cars, right? And I had no idea where to go. So I was on the side of I-25 where the on-ramp or the off-ramp was coming at me. And that was the southbound side. So I said, let's go south. And so I'm walking down, and before I kind of get to the on-ramp, this sign said, you know, no pedestrians, no this, no that. You know, if you're down on the interstate and not a car going 70 miles an hour, we're going to arrest you. So anyway, I said, fuck it. And I went down there, and I had no suitcase, no nothing. I just had the sneakers, pair of, you know, jeans, and a shirt. That was it. I had nothing else. No. I didn't even have a wallet because I had no driver's license. You know, I didn't even have a wallet. No ID whatsoever. So I walk down, and as I'm walking down, I get down on the road. I look up, and there's these headlights coming straight towards me. I go, oh, okay. Kind of step out there and put my thumb out, you know. And I had been a hitchhiker and a hobo and a rider of rails and a traveler since I was 13. I would take little, as I told my parents, I'm not running away. I'm just taking a vacation from you. I would take these road trips. I'm a big road trip fan. Anyway, so I got my thumb out there, and this car is, you know, doing like 110, just whoa, and it flies right by me. And I turn around at him, and I hear the brakes squeal, and I see the brake lights go on. And I, you know, stops about a quarter mile down the road, goes in reverse, and comes right back, right? And it is a screaming pink Ford Mustang with a big block motor. This sucker was, you know, like something straight out of that movie with Steve McQueen, where half the movie is him driving up and down San Francisco hills. Anyway, door gets thrown open. It's got this kind of strange light everywhere because the inside is every square inch is covered in shag carpet, yellow canary, you know that, and the lights go on. It's all canary yellow in there, and the Doobie Brothers are playing, right? Dun, 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 you know, all those Doobie Brothers songs on the 8-track. So he goes, get in. So I kind of, you know, the low slung bucket seats, I kind of get in there. I look at him and give him a good serious look. And here's a guy who looks kind of like what I look now, but he had real long hair. He didn't, he had real long hair. It was all white. And he looked like he had a pretty good tan. And he goes, where are you going? I go, no idea. Heading south. He goes, well, I'm going to Albuquerque. I said, sounds good to me. So he floors it, and boom, we take off. And it's a good, I don't know, 300 miles at least between Santa Fe, could be even more, to Albuquerque. And we're flying down the road, and, you know, hi, I'm Dr. Romero. I said, oh. And he goes, I'm driving from Chicago. I said, really? You come, you know, this is your home leg on, well, not home, well, kind of home. My mother died, and I've been at the University of Chicago. And he goes, I'm a shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic he didn't put alchemist on there, but all the rest, right? I said, oh, really? So he starts telling me all the stuff he does and what he, how his worldview and the this and the that. And his mother was Spanish and his father was Hopi. So he learned both languages very well, along with English, and was a very smart boy. He was like number one in his class. So he actually got a pretty good education. He'd go into a Catholic school, and they taught him really well. World War II broke out, and he could speak Hopi. And some guy came into he was, about to graduate, and he said, "Your country needs you. We need people who can speak Hopi." And so he was a code talker, but he wasn't, as Hopi as the other guys. He was more European, but it was all, he did that and was a hero, and he was in Japan. All those, he was on the beach with all those, crazy guys, and he was on there. I think Iwo Jima, and he was in the Navy, and that was the first and only time, and pretty much everyone kind of got blown up in some way or another, and he didn't. And when everything was, they collected that island, his superior said, "Listen, from now on, you're going to stay on the big boat because the guy who was translating it at the big boat, he just didn't have it together. You're well educated. You're European. We understand you." And so I said, okay. Listen to this whole story, and he's going on and on and on and on. And he's a griot, I'm just like you. I'm just like listening to the story. So he is heading to Albuquerque because his mom had been there, for pretty much her whole life. And that was where he went to school, where, childhood and grew up and all the above. And it wasn't until the war that he kind of left, and he had not come back. He had visited his mom a couple times and had brought her to Chicago when he got his doctorate and all of that, so she could be very proud. And she dies, and she leaves everything to him. And what is left to him was about 5 or 6 of these traditional New Mexico kind of mud huts, right? But they're Spanish, they're Hopi, they're on there's a lot of things in these things, and they're really amazing, and they're like 100 years old. And what she did in that neighborhood of the poverty, Hispanic and Indian folk, she had the general store, and she had these 5 or 6 homes that she rented out to people, and she had one for herself that she was, the homestead, and it was very nice. So he's going back there to fix all that up. And it had kind of run down because she got pretty old and stayed pretty old and just, puttered around until she died. So he was coming back to move there and basically fix things up and maybe sell the stuff, right? So I said, okay. And all I'm saying is, okay. I'm just listening to the story and like going, wow, this guy's amazing. So he goes, so, but, I've been a scholar my whole life. I can't even swing a hammer. Are you any good at that? I said, oh, buddy, you picked up the right guy. I said, listen, I'll fix everything up for you, I said, is there anything with electricity? He goes, kind of, but not really. How about plumbing? Oh, no, there's none of that. Everyone went outside. And I said, it's late, and no, I don't know. Anyway, so long story short, I said, listen, I'll fix up everything to code. Electricity, plumbing, heat, everything, right? And he goes, you do that, you can have one of those houses. You can pick whichever one you want, and you can live there for the rest of your life. And I was like, what? Well, just, for time being, it's not bad. So we, get to there, and we pull in, and he's got this big key ring, and he goes to the house that he grew up in, and it's a beautiful house, a circular house, and all these rooms, and in the middle was a garden, right? And each room looked out onto the garden, and each room had a door to go out into the garden, and it was amazingly beautiful. And his mother kept that up pretty good. It was still run down, but it was still very nice. The others were like falling down, no one had been living in those things for years, and luckily all of the roofs and walls had caved in. Those were in because they were like built traditionally, and a Vega mud house is not going anywhere. But everything else, cobwebs and broken furniture and just trashed on the inside and on the outside. And the windows were broken and all the rest. So we basically, I said, okay. So I said, what kind of shape are you in? And he goes, well, I'm in pretty good shape for, 62 years old. I've always worked out. I've always, I didn't get fat. Um, you know, you need help? Yeah, I can lift that bar, tote that bale, not a problem. So we started doing that, started cleaning it out. And then the Hispanic kids came around and he said, hey, listen, guys, why don't you help us clean all this crap out? And these kids were, oh, we get paid? Sure. Boy, those were hardest working young kids I'd seen ever. And so within a week, we've cleaned everything out, moved everything to the dump. He went and bought himself a big truck, and we started working on it. So he had a meter that his mother had, kept up. She had electricity in her house, and all these houses were very close to each other. So what I decided to do was I called up the utility company and said, okay, we own this property, and I've read your codes, and it says we can wire these things. And the guy says, yep. So I said, what we would like, there's like, six houses here in close proximity. How about you drop, there's that line over there. How about you drop underground lines into all these houses and put meters, in an undisclosed place, and we'll go from there. And they said, okay, as long as, you dig the ditch, you put the wire in, not a problem. I said, okay, not a problem. So we did. We got those kids out there, and they dug all the ditches. We put all the wire in. I put them into meter pans. They gave us meter pans. The utility owned the meter pan, so they gave us meter pans. And I actually put in 200 amp single phase services in all these places. And the electric guy says, these poor people don't just got electricity. What are you doing that for? I said, just in case. Better have. And the guy goes, yeah, I guess you're right. So everyone got a 200 amp. I put a new service into his mom's house, which he constantly called his mom's house, and a new service in the grocery store, right? Because I was going to put refrigeration in there because they didn't have any refrigeration. So it took me about 2 months doing this, and it was great because I spent all this time with him. And he just had all these great stories, his war stories, his travel stories. He did all this amazing stuff, and I could interact with him just like you guys in your chat, and he loved that I asked the right question. That I was there for. That I was attentive. Even when we're working on something, I was attentively listening to what he said, and he said, "You are the best avatar, best." I said, Avatar? He goes, yeah. Don't you know that your body isn't you? And the whole story he gave me. And he goes, you're more than that. You're awake. You are an adept. Oh, what's that? He goes, well, that's a student. You're my student. You're fine. And I'm learning from you. That's the whole thing. I'm your teacher. And then Japan. And he spent a lot of time in Japan. He learned Japanese. After he was there when we won, when they dropped him. He was there in Hiroshima, like days later. And so anyway, he had all these amazing stories. So I was his Padawan, and he was learning from me how to hammer, and meaning by the time we finished, he was a pretty handy guy, and he knew what to do. And he said, I really appreciate you teaching me all this because, our society is not going to last too much longer. And he says, did you ever hear of the mud flood? I said, what? Mud flood? He goes, yeah. He goes, about, 250 years ago, and this is 1971, so you can do the math, there was a tremendous calamity where the earth had this great flood of mud. And it wiped out more than half the population. And so I'm going, so that's like, do the math, so that's like sometime before the Civil War. He goes, that's right. And he goes, why do you think they had the Civil War? they had to have a great distraction because a great deal of America was destroyed and a great deal of the population was killed, and a lot of the population was in flux. And so the war was a thing to hide that and also build an industry base. To fight that war, they had to build all these factories. Anyway, and he said that's when the sale of children occurred. He says it happened in Europe, and he goes, these mud floods have occurred a number of times, especially in Europe, especially places that had written, history, and especially where people had cities, because the people who were living as herdsmen or out in the field indigenously, if something happened, they just moved, And wear my cool sunglasses. Well, I can't read the chat if I wear the cool sunglasses. So it's either fashion or being able to read. So anyway, so we have a great time. The first thing we did was fix up the homestead the way he liked it. Right? And I had a room. There was like 10 rooms. So I had my own little room, big room. And the spring was coming, so we worked on that, and we had the boys. So, within 2 months, we had everything going. We had redid and repainted and redid everything of the store and restocked it. And he had money, more than his mom did, that's for sure. So the people who come and do supermarkets came and visited him. So he had the pick of being able to put things on the shelf instead of her. And so it really spunked the whole neighborhood up, because we probably employed 20 kids doing all this for 2 months, and told them, hey, give this to your mom. And the moms came and made us food, and it really built this community in the 4-block radius around these houses and the store. And we had a great party once, and because amongst these houses, there was a garden that, not just the garden in the center of these houses, but the garden in the center. And we made that a neighborhood garden. And the moms and grandmoms and the husbands and grandpas, that was old school for them. But they really didn't have the kind of ground. And this was a good 2 acres. So we were, as the spring was coming, they came and suggested we till this and work it, and the doctor and I were, well, sure, let's, because he was really into all for one and one for all, so say we all, and he spoke Spanish fluently. So they were so happy to be having, this padrón there. Being generous and just being part of the community. They were wondering what he was going to be like, guy coming from Chicago with all these degrees. So they would, call him Doctore, right? So 2 months we had it humming. And in those 2 months I was living with him, and I played chess. Right? My mom was a total card freak, so I played a lot of cards. And he goes, you ever play Go? Because he was, he spent a number of years in Japan as a military boy, and a linguist. I mean, that's what he learned, Japanese, and he learned every language. So that's, he was there when the UN charter thing happened. Anyway, and he knew General MacArthur. I mean, this guy had stories like, and he was a good griot. He really was. That's kind of where I learned my skills. So anyway, I'm having a great time. And he smoked boo, and we grew it, and everybody there grew it. And that's the one thing, that it was a weed. That's one thing they could grow in their neighborhood, and they sold it to the college kids. And so and that was really, they had no other jobs. Nobody would hire these folks, and so that was their gig was. And there was a big music jazz scene, so they would go down to the Tender Trap and the other clubs on the Strip of Albuquerque. And the only other thing, they had these little taco sheds, and the food was. So these old ladies kept coming in and bringing us food, and they'd sell the stuff that they make, tamales, enchiladas. I mean, they made all these things and wrapped them up, and we'd sell them. We had refrigeration. So anyway, they made a lot of stuff, and he would give them the stuff that they needed. They would make it. He would sell it. He would give, he would just take out the price of the materials, and so it was just a great win-win community. So I'm there, and I'm having a great time. And I'm the kid. Everyone called me the kid. Even the kids called me the kid, right? Like Billy, you're like Billy the Kid, but you have got a screwdriver instead of a gun. So things were great. We're now kind of going into June, and everything. We're still working on things, but everything's it's just humming along, right? And everyone's happy, and everyone's as their spirits lifted, they were making money, they were selling stuff. Other people came, from outside the neighborhood to buy the Mexican food that the doctor was selling, and all the other kind of herbal things that he was selling, and that went into the kitty, for the community. And then they were getting jobs. I mean, all these kids learned skills like how to hammer, how to screw drive, how to put in a duplex outlet, what a wire is, how to wire. Some of those kids were pretty smart and wanted to learn how to be an electrician, how to be a plumber, and they went off and got jobs. For the guys who just fix things for people, not like a big company or something. Anyway, and so everything, the boat was, the doctor rose everyone's boat, and that's how it works. Not by getting, ripping off the poor and putting the money in your pocket like Donnie did with the tax, thing, right? Anyway, so it's having a great time. I'm always got a buzz. I'm teaching people. I'm part of the community. Everyone loves me, and it was great, right? And then by July, everything's coming up in the garden, and this. I don't know if any of you guys have ever grown your own food, and there's such a rush about putting that seed in the ground and then watching that plant grow up, and then you can pick it and eat it. It's like that's the way it's supposed to be. Not buying organic food at the supermarket. I mean, that's the same crap that's over there. They're just charging you twice. You're being taken, and that's a whole. You should go look up the mud flood, because that's when this just piece of shit corporate universe went into high gear, right? I mean, all these wars we've had since the Civil War, they're orchestrated, they're planned, they're there to make money for the rich, right? And the doctor would just go on and on and on about this, right? I mean, I kind of knew about it, but anyway, so great fun, great community, great food. Everyone's making more money than they've seen, right? And everyone's sharing. They kind of got the idea. Hey, this is a neighborhood of abundance. We share. We have more. So everyone's getting that whole thing, right? And once it's all done, the doctor is, 7 o'clock. He goes over, and he opens up the store, and the women would come out, and he had a big awning put where he had all the fruits and the vegetables that we were growing there, right? Real organic food. And the women set up a table with, a Coleman stove and made food. They would prepare everything in at home and bring it and keep it warm there and sell it right there on the street. And they did really well. And everyone in the neighborhood, there was like the neighborhood price, and it was like a tenth of what. And people started coming. I mean, Albuquerque had some great Mexican restaurants, but this was really special stuff, especially the tamales. Ooh, I've never had tamales like I've had with these people's. Or chili rellenos. Good. So, and the sauce, moles they made, and they'd sell it by the jar. And so everybody's doing great. And, I never had to pay for anything, really. Anything. my herbal supplements or anything. I was the kid. So, and all the women who were mothers and grandmothers, saw me as their grandson. They'd all call me grandson. They wouldn't call me kid. Everybody who was my age or before they, who weren't married, everybody called me the kid, right? So, and the police, you know, doctor and I went and introduced ourselves to the police. He was the other guy who said, whenever you go into a town, you should go introduce yourself to the police and get them to realize you're a good guy. So they cut you some slack. And they'll come to you for help and you can help them. Not give away anything, but help them. Bring the two sides together because they're part of the community. And the more we make them part of the community, the better they'll be. And so we did that. And the cops would come by and get that food from those ladies. And they would pay full price. The ladies would say, oh, you can have it. I said, no, we're going to. And the cops were actually really good because they had like a circle around our 4-block area. It was really like 4 times 4. It was 4 blocks this way, 4 blocks that way, 4. So it was a pretty almost, square mile area. And they wouldn't come through unless we called them. They didn't bother us whatsoever. They didn't do drive-bys. They didn't do any of that. But they kind of went around and made it known, that the banditos shouldn't be going into this neighborhood. They actually, it was one of the first places I ever saw those signs of neighborhood watch. And these guys did watch, and they had baseball bats. When the banditos who were just going to hit and run, well, they got hit. So anyway, this was how a neighborhood, as my friend Pete would call it, a eco village. So, and we would have Friday night jamborees and music and food. It was just the best. So time is going by, and I'm just, everything, all the work is done. I'm not doing much. So, and I have my own little, wasn't even little, my nice traditional home that I could have for the rest of my life. And so I had free food from the store, free food from the ladies, and anything else that we shared. And the one thing I still stayed working at was the garden, and I fixed everyone else's house. Meaning if their electricity was sketchy, I made it safe. So I did do that, but yeah, I don't know, 6 hours a week, if that. The rest of the time, the doctor had an amazing library, and I just sat in his house, and because I still had my room in his house, that was called my office, and so I would sit there and read. I'd sit in the patio and read. We would drink, and he taught me how to play Go, which is Japanese version of checkers. And it's really quite a brain teaser of a game. It's very it's big board, these white and black stones, and you move them around. And anyway, so it's a very strict. If you ever read The Art of War, he talks about Go a lot. So anyway, and the doctor's trying to teach me Japanese, or at least the Japanese culture, because he had totally gone native when he was there, and that was his thing. His anthropology side, he just kept going. He said, when you're an anthropologist, you got to put on the grass skirt. So anyway, time was going on and on and on, and I really wasn't doing anything. And I was getting to look seedy and, just kind of how I look now, but at 22 or so. So, and I wasn't even looking for a girlfriend, I'm just not really interested. And he would say, why don't you go get a girl? Because it's just not, reading a book was more interesting to me. And there were a lot of young girls there, but they all wanted to get married. I flirted and sparked with a number of those senoritas, but they all wanted to get married. And they wanted to get married to the kid. And I said, no, I'm like your brother. There were a couple who were kind of, but they pretty much said no, nothing unless we can go dance. We can dance. So I was like, I got my girlfriend kind of thing out every Friday when we would dance the night away. It was like amazing. And so, and I was a real twirler. I had been I knew how to dance, so the girls liked that. So, but they kind of all knew that. Well, there's no matter what we do, he's not going to marry us and settle down and get a job and da da da. He's the kid, you know. That's why they call me the kid. So, no. Oh, a lot of people wrote about peace, but you can't write about peace. You have to live peace. That's what we're doing here. We are writing the book of the art of the peace, buddy. You know? And we're all putting a chapter into this book. So I have to speed up on this thing. So you get the general drift. I've left New York. I've left New York behind. I'm already like haven't been to New York now probably 6 months, right? And this is one of those places that I could have stayed there, you know. So anyway, I'm starting to look seedier and seedier, and I'd walk in like in my I was always wearing my bathrobe and my pajamas everywhere. After we finished all the hard work, he goes, "You got money? Why don't you go buy some clothes?" I go, "These do." And I would go down to the thrift shop and buy another pair of pajamas, and I was pretending I was Hugh Hefner. So at a certain point, and this is how you know when someone loves you. Grandpa, not Grandpa, excuse me, the doctor came over, and he brought himself a really nice bottle of tequila, too, right? And he had the go board with him, and he came to my house, and it was during the day. Usually, each evening, I would go over there, and we cook dinner together, and then play go and get a buzz on. And so we're getting into it, and so he goes, Al, you're like my son, the son I've never had. I said, I really appreciate that, Doc. And he goes, you are so smart. You got everything going on, and good to see you too, Voga, right? And Buddy and Dragon, and who else is here? Birmingham. There's John, and Esoteric. Everybody's here. Anyway, so he says, you need to get a job. And I said, why? I'm fine. Look at this nice house, and everything's going great. And I take care of it. I got a job taking care of you and the community. He goes, no, 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 no. You spend 6-7 hours a week doing that. No, you need a job. I said, what do I need a job for? He goes, because even though this is your community, even though these people are your cadre, he's another person who got me into that word, and your clan, he called us the clan, you need to be out in the world out there, out, on the other side of the tracks, That's where you come from, the other side of the tracks. Look, I'm not even a white guy, even though I was a denizen of that world for 40, 50 years. I'm more these people than the other side of the tracks. That's where you come from. And that's where your future is, not here. Not staying here, wearing your pajamas and your thing, so you need to get a job. So, starting tomorrow, the newspaper is going to be delivered at the shop, like 20 copies, so people can see what's going on the other side of the tracks. And you're going to come there every morning for breakfast and go through the want ads and use the phone in the shop and call those people up. I said, okay, sounds like a plan. Because he was my sensei. He was Doc. So, next morning I go in, have breakfast with the ladies, and, and they have not just a table, they have a counter that you can sit at. There's, chairs, they're making money. So, they've got not just a Coleman stove, but a nice, they went and got themselves a gas stove and hooked it up to Doc's gas in the store, and they're really going to town now. I mean, yes, they make most of the stuff there, but now they have, it's sink and water and all of the rest. And again, the city, the state, no one has come to, oh, you need a license for this, not even close. They're happy that everything is like calm and cool and collected. And our little square half mile had effect on all the other kind of neighborhoods that were getting to be a little rambunctious. And so the police, and we invited the police, and they come and have breakfast too and lunch, and they, we talked to them. Doc and I would talk to them, and say, we're doing your job for you, and they really realized it, really thanked us for us, and that's how a police force is supposed to be. So anyway, I'm looking through the jobs here, and I see this one. It says, "You can make your fortune. This is the job to start with. We'll come and pick you up. We will buy you breakfast and lunch." And I go, okay. So I call them up and I say, "Hi, I'm Al, and I'm looking for a job." And the guy goes, "Oh, you sound white." And I go, "Yeah, well, I don't know how white sounds, but yes, I'm Anglo-Saxon. Yep." And he says, "Where you live?" And I tell him where. And they go, "Oh, that neighborhood. That's really becoming a neighborhood." And I said, "Yep, it sure is." And he goes, "You might not be the kid, are you?" And I go, "What?" I said, "You're on the other side of the tracks. How do you?" "Well, hey, have been quite a thing. Expect the TV truck soon." And so the guy goes, "Sure. Where do you want to get picked up?" And I said, "At the store. I'll be having a cup of coffee there." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "Don't fill up because we're going to take you out to breakfast. Every morning we take you to breakfast." So this truck pulls up and it's got a vacuum cleaner on the top. It's the Kirby of, and the guy inside is named, wearing a really disgusting polyester leisure suit. And so he picks me up and he hands me this, and there's nobody else in the truck, just me. And he hands me this like manual about the vacuum and how to exhibit it. Exhibit it. And he goes, "Yeah, you're not a salesman. You just show the vacuum. You get inside the door. Uh, you have a yellow card, and you have them sign it. And every yellow card that you get somebody to sign, you get $5, right? You do, you get 30 cards a day, times five. That's some serious money there. And you can make that every freaking day if you just study that book and go at it." So I go, "Okay, sounds like a plan." So he takes me out to breakfast, and I'm a quick read. I'm looking at the thing. I say, "Yeah, I got it down." And so he, I have my little, suitcase with the vacuum cleaner inside, and I have this other little kind of, briefcase with all the folders and contracts and yellow cards, and so I go in there, and he goes, "If you sell one, you get $250 each vacuum cleaner. But you're not a salesman; you're just a demonstrator. But if someone has to buy it right away, you can get them to sign this. You get $250." So I go in, and I'm very nice, and I've like trimmed myself up. I shaved, and I'm wearing clean clothes. I'm not wearing my pajamas, and I everyone lets me in. I I sign the show card, and I sign it, and I demonstrate. "Oh, that's really nice." And I say, "Well, if you want to buy it, not a problem. But if you want to think about it, no problem. I'm not pressuring you. A salesman will come and visit you in a day or two. And this yellow card that you signed kind of gives them the permission to come in and talk to you about the vacuum cleaner." And I would demonstrate the whole thing. I would leave them with all kind of sales propaganda, and I'd move on to the next. And the first day, I got 40 yellow cards. And the guy was, "Well, that's what I'm talking about." And he like gave me an X, and he paid us cash every day, not the end of the week, cash every day. Now that should have been a red flag. I should have said, "Hmm." And so I was making between 150 and $300 a friggin' day. It's like in 1972, you do not make that kind of money unless you're selling something on the corner, right? Especially from the neighborhood I was coming from. So I was doing that, and a week or two went by, and I got this, a bonus check because I've demonstrated more in the 2 weeks that I was there than half those guys had done in a month or two, right? So, and if you sold the most, you got $1,000 check, and if you were a salesman and you didn't sell any, you got a pie in the face. And of course, Hurl's brother-in-law and his nephew were the guys who normally sold the most vacuums, and the others did, relative. But if you just sold a few, you could go home with 300 or 400 bucks. And the guys, there were a couple other guys who were demonstrators, and they wouldn't do any more than 10 a day, you know. So they'd make 50 bucks, and that was fine by them, right? And none of us got a pie in the face, but I did got bonus checks twice, right? So I'm there 2 weeks, and this is pretty good, man. I'm going home with some real serious bucks and lots of pats on the back, and you're the best, and that's pretty cool. Anyway, and I'm meeting a lot of people, but all the people I'm meeting are poor people, meaning the neighborhoods that they are targeting, and that's exactly what they were doing, targeting, were poor people. And so the guys would come in and sell these people a $1,500 vacuum cleaner and just take $10 a week. Sometimes they didn't have $10 a week, and so sign the contract. They could garnish their welfare check, right? And by garnishing it, then they had all these fees. So instead of just 10 a week, they then was having to spend $50, right? And then they'd have to spend $100, and then they lost their welfare, and then they lost their house, and the vacuum cleaner company got everything, and that was their business plan. So I was slow, I didn't really figure that out for a month, and the doc, and every night when we would play Go, and he says, you're looking really good. You're not, you're not you're not scruffy. You're wearing clean clothes and shaving, and you look good. And you're on the other side. How is it? I tell him what I did. He goes, oh, maybe you should look for another job. And it wasn't like 2 grand under my blanket there under my bed. I was thinking about buying a car, but I didn't even have a driver's license, and I didn't even have any ID. When the police realized I didn't have any ID, they gave me one of these police ID things, and so I had that, but it wasn't a driver's license. But so he was thinking maybe you should figure out another job. This is, I don't think this is really going to be good for you in the long run. And I said, well, okay, but I'm making some serious money, and it's really not hard work. It wasn't like being an electrician in New York City where I dragged around 100 pounds of tools, with me every day. So anyway, and that was pumping iron, meaning I had these two tool bags, right, like mailman bags, and I would walk around with them, and where they sent me, and I take the subway or bus, and I would go fix factories and things. 2 little bags of stuff, but it's like my bags of tricks. But for when I worked for the stalls, I did that for 3 years, and boy, I was in good shape. Walking 30, 40 blocks every day with 80 to 100 pounds of stuff. I mean, it's better than going to the gym. I tell you, it's better than pumping iron. I was pumping iron anyway, and I was dancing all the time. So I was in pretty good shape. So I was getting a little flabby when I was wearing my pajamas. At about 3 weeks of just eating tamales and reading books and out in the sun. I was kind of like a lizard. Anyway, I was turning Japanese, definitely, and so there I was selling, demonstrating vacuum cleaners, and then I kind of realized what was going on, and so one day, Hurl takes me in the van and drops me off at a really ritzy neighborhood. We're going to try and step you up, into a more ritzy neighborhood. We're changing our plan. And so he kind of lets me off at this, one of the higher end neighborhoods of Albuquerque. And all these people are slime. They're all taking advantage of everyone. They're lawyers, doctors, bankers. You know, the administrative class. So anyway, ugh, I'm going from place to place, and I'm walking, and I'm not picking any house. I'm just going around with my little demonstration bag and my briefcase, and there's this house. It's like, whoa, look at that. I kind of go up to it, ding dong, and the door opens, and this young lady, somewhere between 19 and 30, with the most bodacious body man has ever seen, and she is wearing just a flimsy, you know, negligee, no nothing, right? And underneath, and the lights coming from the side, and it's illuminating everything. And I'm like, she goes, "Would you like to come in and have a cocktail?" It's like 9 in the morning. She goes, "You want to come in and have a cocktail?" Anyway, she makes me a freaking martini, and I'm like sitting there like Lord Fauntleroy, and on the couch, and she brings it in, and she sits right next to me, and it's like every porno movie you've ever seen where the innocent young man is taken away by the amazing housewife or whatever lady of the house. That's what I would call it, lady of the house. And man, we went at it all day long, right? And it was starting to get, and we had everything in that house. The bottles were everywhere, and so I am like in a more hallucinogenic I'd ever been, and also I don't know what this girl was doing to me, but we just kept at it like bunnies. She was giving off a pheromone that just was, if you could bottle this stuff. So anyway, I'm like on the floor and I'm kind of drooling, and she's kind of lying on top of me, and then all of a sudden I get hit in the head by a bottle. And it's not like someone hit me in the head. Someone had walked in that I didn't even notice, kicked a bottle and kind of bang, bam, whoa. And there was Hurl, my boss, in his polyester suit, and this elderly, tall, white-haired, everything cropped. He didn't look like the doctor, but he looked like an aristocrat. He was like not one of the people. And he was looking at me, and these two thug type guys picked me up. I'm naked, and they're like shaking me. And Hurl whack, hits me in the gut. And I've never been hit in the stomach like that. And I kind of rolled over, going, oh, boy, that hurt. And the girl who I was just with comes over and she goes, "What's wrong, father?" And I'm going, uh-oh. This guy who's this girl's father knows my boss, and then there's these two thugs who I've never seen. These guys are gonna kill me because he'll really. And he didn't act like my boss anymore. He didn't act like the guy I knew. He was like he was turned, right? You know, and a switch had been switched, right? And and I've seen that a lot, and that is the person who is the mud puppet, right? So, and that's what the mud flood was. Go look up the mud flood. So, I'm naked, and they drag me outside to where the pool is, and they throw me in the pool, right? And the young girl, who I haven't even learned what her name is, after being intimate all day with her, because as soon as she gave me that first martini, I mean, she was like Bill Cosby, just, and I wasn't complaining. So, because I hadn't had any kind of female companionship for a good, at least 4 or 5 months, and I thought that not companionship, I hadn't had any female intimacy. And I thought at that point, I really didn't need it. But boy, I had a lot of it. Her hormones took it out of me. Anyway, so the guys are waiting for me, and I'm like swimming out in the middle of the pool because I'm not going to get beat up by these guys. And the old man speaks for the first time, and he goes with a German accent, 2 and 3, and Hurl, go into the living room, set up a security perimeter. And the young lady came out, and she was now wearing a terry cloth bathrobe. And she goes, Father, what should I do? Dear, just go in and put that nice Donna Reed outfit on that I got you. Yes, Father. She patted his way, right? And so he goes, son, come out of the swimming pool, and you know, you have nothing to fear from me. I said, "No, okay, sir." So I swim out and go to the steps, and I come up, and he's got a terracotta bed robe for me from a closet by the pool, and he goes, "Come here, sit on this couch with me." So I sit down, and he takes out, in Men in Black, that same device. He takes it out, and he says, "Look at the tip of this," right? And he kind of looks away and hits the button, and pow! And I'm in a hypnagogic state like that. And if you want to know this story, you need to go to xratted.blogspot.com. Right? So we're going to skip that whole thing because that would take a whole nother hour. I was just going to take 20 minutes at this, and we're already an hour and 16. Anyway, so long story short, I end up at, Blue Bunny Associates, advertising agency. I go to, I stayed with, his name was Dr. Biederman, or Bitterman, or Biterman, however you want to pronounce it. He was in Stone Cold, Operation Paperclip Nazi. He had done mind control in the camps and learned how to turn people into biological robots. And that's what Hurl was, and that's what those two thugs were. And the two thugs didn't even have a name, just a number. And he explained the whole thing to me. And again, if you want to know that story, and that's a pretty deep story, xratted.blog, right? But the upside of it was, I was meant to find his daughter, and his daughter was a robot, an artificial intelligence, 1972, and I, couldn't tell this. This was a young human being to me. And he goes, "Well, you were expendable. You were a person, and I had changed her algorithms, and I wanted to see how she would. We have had other gentlemen be intimate with her, and she would end up tearing them apart physically. When we would find, when everything, the experiment was over, and we would give her the command to go into rest mode." And that's what I said when I said, put on that nice Don Reed outfit. That's the command for her to go into arrest mode. We would go in, and the male subject would be in part. His heart would be on the wall, splattered. His arms would be in different places. His head would be pulled off, and his brains would be pulled out. Because once she went intimate with an individual, she felt this. She, in her algorithm, had this connection with them, and that's why she would go into that intimate mode. And then once she went into it to a certain point, she wanted to know if they were like her, wanted to see how they ticked, and she would rip them apart because she could open, she could maintain her her systems, and holy moly, and this is in 1972. So he said, "You are the first human male to survive this experiment, and we put you in this position. Hurl dropped you off here for a reason. Hurl's got one of these little things and gave you a hypnagogic suggestion to go. That's why you didn't stop at any other place, even though you were down at the other end." Anyway, so he said, "This is amazing, and I've looked into who you are, and what I want you to be is her boyfriend. I want you to humanize her. You know, she has this neural net. She learns by experience. You survived this, you know, and you have a choice. You can either do that or, you know, I hit the other button and she tears you apart. So I said, okay. And he goes, you can live where you are. And he said, but tonight, you know, we'll celebrate, right? So she comes out looking like, honey, are you dressed? And she comes out, and he gives her the command that the persona relationship changes. No longer father, uncle, and she calls him doctor. And she has this like 6-year-old kind of attitude towards him now, instead of a kind of 20-year-old young adult with her father. And so he says, Al's going to stay with us, and he's going to be your friend, and he's going to help you, you know, become better. And she was, you know, and she starts to cry. She comes over and hugs me. And then she goes, would you gentlemen like a cocktail? And he goes, yes, dear. So shake, 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 martinis. He goes, well, make us dinner. That pot roast in the freezer, that would be great. Stick it in that new microwave too. You know, anyway, so she goes in and makes a perfect pot roast of potatoes and carrots. And we talk more and more about all the things. He says, well, you might be interested. You know, I looked you up, and you have an interesting background. I'm sure you have some questions for me. And this is the guy who gave me. I had, you know, I learned about Operation Paperclip. I had understood somewhat what was going on, but I was still only 22 years old, and you know. And so he gave me a full story, you know, of you know that everything from the mud flood on, right? And that they've actually had, you know, high technology. The Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, the Babylonians, the Romans, they all had factions inside of them that had high technology. Flying saucers, time travel, you name it, they had it back then. He said, who do you think Jesus was? So, who do you think all the avatars were, you know? Oh, John, it gets scarier than this, you know? It might remind you of things that you might have seen. Well, back to the story. So he tells me about, you know, what the Nazis were. They were an esoteric crew, you know, made up of the Voles and a number of entities, and all of Stanley's were exactly what was going on. Stanley was, you know, within our media, you know, Steven Spielberg, J.J. Abrams, all those guys tell these great stories because, and it's not the Illuminati. The Illuminati is just the poster boy of this. I keep calling them the hidden hand. It's, you know, in Captain America, first movie, you know, where we meet the Red Skull and Hail Hydra, that's where we're at. So things are weirder than you think they ever were. And we haven't had a president ever since George Washington that wasn't picked by this hidden hand. And it's like you have to understand, you know, capitalism, socialism, they're just two wings of the same bird. Socialism is state capitalism, and capitalism is a capital state, right? And we're all slaves. We're all owned. You know, if you go see, oh, what's that guy? Maxwell? No, who's the big guy who goes on about admiralty law? I mean, that's the YouTube's. There's everybody on there. There's, you know, there's a flavor for everyone, and there's, you know, people like David Icke, David. Oh, who's the guy? The whole Discovery crew. They're okay, you know, but they have, you know, kind of a grading scale. Richard Dolan is the best. Then Linda Moulton Howe, David Icke, they're the best. And then there's a number of those people have friends who they interview on their shows that are pretty interesting. Then you get into the David Wilcoxes and the Corey Goods, and now they have pretty good information, and they, have um, pretty interesting people they interview, and they do, their TV show has a lot of good stuff. All these things, even Stephen Greer, who's way over here, who is what I would call an asset, they all have good information. You, the adept, have to listen with with yourself open up, with no prejudice, and just dig up the information. Yep, John, this is all real, buddy. And where do you think your anxieties come from? You are I keep saying you're the canary in the coal mine, John, and you are, and that's because you are so sensitive, and you pick up on all these things that you dream about and get anxious about. Well, they have nothing to do with you per se, but you're picking them up, and because you don't really understand them, frighten you, and distract you from, you have all these talents, John. You're an amazing musician. You play the guitar better than most people that I've seen, and I've been in the music industry. You play the drums amazingly, and you never play them, right? You sing very well. You have a great voice. You scat, you rap, or whatever you want to call what you do. Amazingly, that video that we did last week, where you rapped for an hour straight. It was amazing, right? You have all these amazing skills, and you let all of this peripheral stuff, which really doesn't matter. I mean, we're going to go even deeper, John. You might not listen from this point on, but it's more than a scary world. It's more than scary because it's not what it seems to be, and that's the scariest. And that's why the guy who wrote Wonderland, what he was trying to tell people. The guy who wrote Wizard of Oz, he was an economist. Everything, the Yellow Brick Road, everything in that, they get stuck in the poppy fields. He was trying to tell everyone that that the dark state is financed by drugs. I mean, and it's been going on forever. And there are different, Reichs. That's probably the best. I was going to say time periods, but Reichs are probably the best. I think, the first Reich, the Roman Empire. But there were other Reichs before that Reich. They're just not talked about. Anyway, so and this woods is totally energetic. This was, and all of this stuff runs on ley lines. Where do you think all those underground facilities are getting their juice from? So we're at an hour, 28 minutes. I have to kind of speed this up. So, two worlds that I'm living in. I'm living in the homeboy world, and I'm living in the Dr. Bitterman. And my girlfriend is an artificial intelligence whose name is Sophia. It's a code name. Whenever you hear that, it's a form of whoa, right? So, what we're being shown right now as artificial intelligence, they had around, in the 1890s. I mean, it's not even, please. And so that's what I've been trying. Every time I do a show, I meditate for an hour or two to put shamanic energy into this to get you folks on the right point of view, and even those who are, there are people in this chat who are plants, what people would call a Stalinist obstructionist, right? Who are in there. They're getting paid from someone to try to get in and understand and who's here and how can we, throw this off kilter, or how can we use it, or how can we manipulate it. And that's, because I'm doing the same thing, guys, because my whole thing is I want to develop an alternative aesthetic, and the cadre is quite, all together now, So look at that, Bob Vegas, right? Is that your name, Blogus, right? doing some filming at your woods. Have emailed you, phone number. Look forward to call you Billy Bob. Yeah. So, that right there kind of stands out as what do you call those guys? Someone who would twist your mind up, someone who's totally been trained in MK Ultra, someone who wants to, you know, who works for someone. And Billy Bob, hey, good to meet you, buddy. And if you got a check for me, hey, that's great. You know. And if you were to fund our little endeavor here, that would be great because we would get inside of you. And Billy Bob, you are just a perfunctory, right? You're not really anyone at the top. You're not even, you're part of the expendable class. You're not even a worker drone. you know, you may think you are. You may think you're whoop-de-doo, but I've been there, done that, and I'm sure you've been read in. I never did that. So anyway, back to the story because we're diverging here. And so it's 1 hour and 31 minutes and 31 seconds. I love this synchronicity stuff. So, where to next? So, Dr. Bitterman gives me he's got this killer 1972 brand new red convertible Cadillac. The Cadillac with the small things rather than the big ones. And every day, he goes up to work, and Sophia and I play house for a little bit, and then we get in the car and we go shopping. She has a credit card, and we go to restaurants, and we go to the library, and we go to my neighborhood and introduce her to the doctor. And the doctor right away goes, "Whoa, buddy, what have you gotten yourself into? I just told you to, get a job, not sell your soul." I said, hey, this is an, experiment. I'm kind of right. And I tell Sophia to explain to the doctor what she is. And she starts and she goes, at certain points where she's not supposed to, she kind of goes, and I go, "Okay, honey, that's all right." Anyway, and then the doctor does, because he's a, shamanic psychosocial cultural forensic anthropologist, he kind of starts to use his little bag of tricks to, just make her feel good, get her to not lower her guard, but ease up on her anxiety. And so anyway, so that's good. And she loves going to see him because he makes her ice cream sundaes, which she loves. And so that's about a week of that. And so at breakfast, Dr. Biederman, because he's very good at having breakfast with us, like the family, if I'm there, and and he was fine me taking her into the hood and having her stay at my house. That was fine because he wanted her to expand her neural net, not just between him and her or a few other people, but in the lab, but no, everybody, right? And he gave me a number of codes if she kind of got a little wiggy to, calm her down so she wouldn't rip people's arms off. And so, and I've told this story many times, but I've not gone into this detail. So anyway, it's about 2 weeks, and it's, everything seems to be going pretty good. And so at breakfast, one night I spent there, because they had a great house. I mean, really great. I love my little adobe house, but this was like spanking new, and air conditioning and great hot water and showers and a pool and, a kitchen that was full of stuff that wasn't just Mexican. So, we're having breakfast, and he goes, Al, I want you to try to and take Sophia with you and see if she can have a job. And so, it's, okay. So you go start out with the state employee agency. So we drive up, there's no one in there except there's, the counter and there's a woman behind it, and there's a few people over there typing away. And I walk in, and I said, "Hi, we're looking for a job." And she looks at the two of us, and we just drove up into, a late model Cadillac that probably cost, what would cost today 40 grand, equal in 1972. And I'm wearing nice clothes. I'm starting to wear Dr. Biederman's. He has some clothes that he's gotten for me, very nice clothes. And she is dressed up like Donna Reed. And she kind of looks at me, says, "You two want a job?" And she goes, "No, there are no jobs for you." And I said, "What do you mean? What do you mean there are no jobs for us too?" And she goes, "Well, do you want to be a gardener? You want to, you want to clean toilets, lady? You want to, no, those are the kind of jobs we have. For you guys, dressed the way you are, driving that car." I said, "Well, I have a really good skill set." And she goes, "Well, what skill set?" I said, "I'm a master electrician." She goes, "Oh, hey." And I sure guess she's a brain surgeon. And Sophie goes, "Yes, I am. My programming is," and I said, "Honey." Anyway, so she goes, "Well, go out there, go 2 blocks down in your nice Cadillac, and there's this big golden office building, and go in there and go to the elevator and hit the, 13th floor, and it's got a BB, a gold BB on the button. Hit that." Okay, and what's that? And that's the Blue Bunny Employment Agency. They'll have a job for you guys. So we go over there, get in there, hit the button, and Sophia gets fragged. I mean, there's some kind of electromagnetic thing in there, there's some kind of something in there that just took her apart. I mean, literally took her apart. Her skin rolled off her frame, all her circuits and all the things that I've never seen. I've worked on a lot of machines. I never saw the inside of something like that. And she slumped to the ground and held at me and said, I'm afraid. And it was like straight out of that scene from 2001, when they turned off Hal. And each different compartmentalized part of her consciousness just kind of got fragged, right? And we're going up really slow. It's like a hydraulic elevator, and doesn't stop anywhere, doesn't stop at any floors. And she's doing this in my arms, and at the end, before she's gone, she goes, You are my only friend. I have and always will love you." That was it. And she basically turned into dust on the floor of that elevator. She had some kind of self-destruct mode. And then this high-pitched sound, and then a flashing light, and the doors open, and I was on the floor, and I was like, huh. And I walked in, and there's this guy, there's the elevator doors open, there's the waiting room, there's a desk where a secretary should be, but there isn't. And the door to the office of Mr. Bunny is open. He goes, "Come on in. You're looking for a job." I come in. Anyway, bottom line, and I, from this point on, go to this morning's story, and this whole part is there, right? And now, to save another half hour, I'm going to jump right to I basically was hired by Bunny for a company called Dick Powell Electric, who worked for Gulf Mineral Oil. And they were the, Dick Powell Electric is like, so go watch that part of this morning's stroll of consciousness, and you'll get that part. I don't have to repeat it now. And because I want to get into going into state, right? So I basically get hired to work in the nuclear industry, and I work at down in the Four Corners where all the uranium mines were. I worked Mount Taylor, the Mount Taylor project, largest uranium mine, deepest, biggest in thing. But what it really was a one of those little underground, what do they call them? WAPS or anyway, a military base underground, and it was there to house, God, a million people, maybe 2 million insectoids, who knows? But I was sent there, and my job basically was to build the powerhouse, right? And I was there for about 2 months, 2 to 3 months, and it was disgusting because we got picked up on Sunday, and we got there, and we lived in these Quonset hunts right on there. I mean, we didn't have places we could stay because we were out in the middle of the desert, right? So we just stayed there, and then Friday they would drive us back to Albuquerque, and that's how it worked. And Mr. Bunny gave me a contract where I was going to make $30 an hour. And in 1972, that's a lot of friggin' money, with a whole bunch of other benefits. And I got a driver's license to drive anything, and a master electrician's license along for the boot. So if I had stuck there, I could have, become like Dick Powell. Anyway, what happens is I go down there, and within the first, it was disgusting. There were like 20 guys in this Quonset hut. We all had like little beds, and there was no privacy. I'm not a modest guy. I can walk around naked amongst anybody. I lived on a, commune. I lived in a nudist colony. I went to prep schools where, and so that didn't bother me. But everyone was drunk. Everyone was on drugs. And the guy next to you, he'd be jacking off right there. He wouldn't go into the bathroom. He'd just be squirt. And it was like, really? So by the third or fourth day, before I even had gone home, I was like, oh, this is too much. But I was interested in what I was doing, and during the workday, it was fine. Second day I'm there, or third, I given a truck to ride, because this site is about 20 square miles. It's this amazing, gigantic facility. And it's Mount Taylor. If you go on Google Map or whatever, look for Mount Taylor and see what their satellite is looking at, or their whatever. And they might not even have it listed. I mean, Mount Taylor is there, and it's the Hopi's most sacred spot, and it's called the Snake Goddess. And their thing is, you mess with the Snake Goddess, she'll eat you alive. And here these morons are digging a hole 2 miles down underground and building a city down there, right? So anyway, I'm there for a couple of days. They got me on this bright yellow truck. Can't miss it. It's got flags all over it, because there are all of these gigantic earth-moving things that are like the size of buildings. And if one of those things went over you, baby, you're squished like a pancake. So they have the, office center, they have the engineering center, and then scattered all over the place, there are places that are like warehouses. So I'm working on building this thing. So I'm, the blueprint, it states all the stuff, and it comes in lots, this lot, that lot. So I'm just driving the truck, having them load up the lot, and you pull up to, and the warehouse is just a tractor trailer with steps going up the back, and they have a very, outlined parking spot. It's all bright yellow with these big flags up 30 feet so those guys in the big machines can see, don't go there. Anyway, I pull up, I get out, I kind of bebop out of the truck, and I get out 20 feet away, and I hear this crashing, smashing, crunching, and I turn around, and this gigantic tut that's 20 feet high stomps right about my nose. And I'm like, so the guys in the warehouse come out and grab me and pull me out of the way, pull me to where their warehouse is. And they go and start yelling at the guy. Guy is, he a driver of this gigantic machine, and he's drunk. And he backed up this hill that he wasn't on the road, He backed up this hill to turn around, and this thing has gigantic horsepower. You could like climb a cliff. And this hill is just like this, and the parking lot is here. He backs up, and right. And if I had stopped to pick my nose or to look at the paperwork or something, no, I just kind of stopped, left the keys in the car, because that's what I did. I bebopped. I just popped out and walked towards that shed, and this thing rolled right over it, right. And he came up over this hill, so I didn't even see it, and I would have been flattened, and that was it. And I was like, whoa, right. So the I get my paycheck on a Wednesday, and no, Thursday, on Thursday, and we drive in to Grants, and Grants is just this like two highways across, and there's trailers everywhere. The bank was a trailer. You wanted to rob the bank, all you had to do was hook it up to a truck and drive away with it. And on payday, they had a lot of money going through that thing. So anyway, I go in, and the guys who and I go with a bunch of guys who are older. I'm like 22, give or take, and these guys are all in their 30s, and they're all the guys who are drunk, stoned, jacking off in public, and this one guy has a van, and we all had, because it was wintertime, and we all had these. They had a lamb, and they would cut it in half and turn it inside out, and that was our. It was called lineman's coat, and so the whole fleece of the lamb was touching you, and the outside was the hide of the that had been tanned, so it's like bulletproof, and it kind of had a hood that went kind of, so if you turned it in and put it on, you'd look like a lamb. And it had pockets everywhere, and so I had, by this time, had gotten a wallet. I had my little police ID. I still didn't have. Oh, I did have my master's card and my driver's license, class 9 driver's license, and my security badge for being on site there. So I had a lot of, you know, identification in my wallet, and I had a nice wallet too because I now had money. So I got my first check. I'd only worked there, 5 days, um, and I got a check for $1,200. And Mr. Bunny took his cut already, so that was what I was taking home, right? And the average of my check working on this site would be about $1,200. So I go there, and these guys just cash their checks, put the cash in their pockets, and walk out, right? And across the street from the bank is the canteen, and it's the gas station, the restaurant, the disco, the whorehouse, the store to buy clothes, a barber shop, a place to take a bath. It's like out of the Wild West, and a bar, and gambling. And so they go, they get their money, and they go right there. Me, I sit down, I go, I want to open an account. And she goes, account? Yeah, I want a checking account and a savings account. And I'm going to be making some money. I might as well, do something with it. So she, oh, that's, no one ever does that. That's amazing. So she fills out all the stuff. I say, it takes about a half an hour. I give her the check. She gives me my a passport book. I don't know if any of you know what that is. It's a same, they kind of print it in the book. And she gives me a similar kind of book for checks, right? And she goes, "Do you have a mailing address?" I said, "No." Uh, can I use? And she, oh, of course, you can use. We can, you can use this as your mailing address. Not a problem. You can get anything sent here, and we'd love it. That's one of the services we have because there are a lot of guys who do that. Anyway, so I set that out, and I give myself $400, all 20s. And so I'm wearing these skanky overalls and this big coat. And underneath the overalls, I have like just a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, right? And so wearing this, it's like ugh, disgusting clothes. And B, it's like just like wearing a spacesuit, but it's wintertime. So these guys have pulled the vehicle like almost like right at the front door of this place, and because they're getting gas, and they just leave the thing at a pump. They don't give a fuck. And so I walk across the street. I take my big coat off. I take $200 of the $400, and I put it in. I take off the big coat, and it has a pocket on the inside that has a zipper. Put my wallet in there, zip it up, put it in there. And I basically, get down to my shorts and t-shirt and my boots. And I walk in there, and so I'm cold for about 20 seconds, and it's really warm in this place because it's a titty bar, and so the girls are running around in bikinis. And so I go over to where the guys does the shaving and stuff, and I go, "Hey, I need a shave, and you got a place?" And they actually had a jacuzzi, and he said, "Do you want a woman to share your jacuzzi with you? I said, no, I'm good. So I get that, and then, but I'll be right back, and I go into the store and I buy myself cowboy pants, cowboy shirt, cowboy hat, Tony Lama cowboy boots. And so, I take that in. I'm still wearing my shorts and t-shirt, and that's all in a bag. And I get a shave and my hair clipped nice and totally skinned, shaved. And I go soak myself for a good 20 minutes in that bathtub, and then I have great showers. I do like another 10 minutes of a shower, and I am squeaky clean. And I put on my cowboy outfit, and I look good, man. And I look like John Travolta in Electric Cowboy or whatever that movie was. And I walk in and I sit down in the dining room and I get a steak and a mashed potatoes and this is good food that'll kill you. And I get a bottle of wine. I say, "Got any wine?" And they go, "Oh, we think we do." So they had a bottle of wine that wasn't really that bad. It wasn't, it was okay. And so I'm drinking the wine, and they have fresh rolls, yeast rolls, and I'm just eating it up, right? And I can because I'm in great shape and I'm working really hard. It's like the work I was doing, I had more of a workout than if I were to pump iron for 5 hours a day, right? So I'm in really good shape. I'm abbed, I'm ripped, I'm everything that the movie star looks when they're at their best, right? So and I'm dressed as a cowboy, and I'm still wearing my cowboy hat inside, right? And this one of the prostitutes comes over and like kind of tips my hat up and goes, "Don't you know it's impolite to wear a hat indoors when you're with a lady?" And I said, "Oh," and she goes, "Can I join you?" And I said, "Sure." And so she sits down, and she's like basically wearing nothing. She goes, Would you like a lap dance?" And I said, "Oh, I think maybe, but I'm more interested in this, and maybe we talk a little bit." And he said, "Okay." So we talked, and it was pretty obvious that maybe I'll get one lap dance, but I wasn't like those other guys who would jump and give her like $1,000 in an hour. So I wanted to talk. I wanted to have a conversation. I wanted to find out who she was. Anyway, within 15 minutes, she goes, "Well, you're no fun," and so she leaves. Anyway, so I'm finishing up, and I'm now having dessert, and then this guy comes over, and he goes, "You know those guys you came with?" I go, "Yeah, they left without you." I said, "What?" "Yeah, they got in the van and they took off." And he goes, "You're working out at the mine. You're one of the guys in the bungalows." That's what they called, living on site, living in a bungalow. There was no bungalow. Anyway, so it was like 40 miles away. How am I going to get? I said, "Don't worry about it. You can stay at my place. I have a pair of overalls you can throw on, and there's a bus that kind of comes in here, picks everybody up, everybody stops at my house, and then goes up the highway and picks other people up at other spots and lets other people off at other mines, and this one will let you off at Taylor." I said, "Okay." So I sleep out on his couch, you know. I keep my cowboy clothes on and put the overalls because they're big. He was a big guy. Over my cowboy outfit, and I put my work boots on and take my Tony Lamas off, and I take the bus to Taylor, and I get there right where I'm supposed to. And every morning, our crew would gather at the shop, and our foreman would tell us what I was always going to be working. I mean, I was only there to do that. I did nothing else. A couple of times I helped them out laying pipe, but those guys were such morons. I just said no. So, I show up when I'm supposed to and at the right time, and there's our supervisor. And our supervisor is a black guy who had been in the Air Force, and he had some skill sets. He was not a dummy. And so he's got his clipboard, and he's reading something on the clipboard. And I tap him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, Bob, what's going on?" And he turns around and he looks at me, and he faints. I mean, he's a black guy who turns white and then falls over. I'm like, and I kind of catch him, and so his head doesn't hit the concrete. And I'm like, right there, Bob, what's wrong? You had a heart attack? What's wrong? And he kind of wakes up. He goes, "You're dead. You're dead. You're dead." And I kind of look at his clipboard, and the thing that he was reading was from the Highway Patrol, and the frigging morons that I went to Grants to start a checking account and have a steak dinner. They were so drunk they were flying down that county road at like 140, and they went a lot of the big equipment before it was delivered. They leave it on the side of the road to get it all the parts together to then bring it on to whatever site it was going to go on, because a lot of these sites didn't have the space to do that. Right where we were, not a problem. It's 20 square miles. They got a lot of space. But these other mines, equipment would sometimes be assembled on the side of the road, and so there was a big hunking piece of machinery just parked on the side of the road, and these guys plowed into it, and just, and they didn't get any gas, so there wasn't very much gas left in their gas tank, and so it didn't blow up and burn. So everyone was just turned into a milkshake. And and all they found was ick and clothes. And my coat, my lineman's coat, was in their van, along with my overalls and all my identification. So my name was on that list of dead people. And from that point on, my nickname was the Dead Guy. And 4 other times, I had scenarios like that where I almost died. I won't go into them. I will just say, I was not happy there. And my nickname wasn't the Kid, it was the Dead Guy. And people had a pool on when I was going to die because things were so poorly run. Everyone there was expendable. And every week, 5 to 20 guys died on that site. This one guy died, he was a welder. And they had this gigantic flywheel, 20-story flywheel. Weighed hundreds of tons. It came in component parts, and they moved it around and then welded it. He was in there. He was so drunk and stoned, he didn't realize that as he's doing that, he's welding himself in there, and he suffocated. Stuff like that would happen and guys would get run over by those gigantic trucks, and and no matter what, we would have safety meetings, and no, these guys were just fucked up. And the people above them didn't care. They were expendable. There were more people where they came. Mr. Bunny sent more folks, right? But I was, a little higher, because I wasn't working for Gulf Mineral Oil. I was, but I was doing it through Dick Powell. And I had worked a couple of weeks before I went to the mine where they said, "Whoa, you're actually valuable. You're actually worth that license you have." So they knew that, and so they were, Anyway, long story short, after, I didn't stay there for my whole career at Dick Powell's. But what happened was, after that, so that's like the first week. So I go Friday, go away, come back Sunday, and that Monday night, my, 6th day there, I just can't take it. And it's starting to warm up. The first week was ridiculously cold, and this evening it's not. I got myself a nice little jacket, not my big, thingamajig jacket. Anyway, long story short, I'm taking a walk. I go out the gate, and it's just like the movie Close Encounters, how there's this big mountain, and one side of it's all lit up, and the other side's dark, right? Dark side of the moon. Anyway, so I walk out of the main gate, and the guy goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I got to take a walk. I got to take a walk. I got to take a walk." And the guy goes, "Well, there's nothing out there but sagebrush." I was good. That's all I don't want to. So I walk around, and that whole site on that side of the mountain is lit up by these stadium lights, and it's because they got like 5 shifts. Never a quiet moment in this place. And I turned as soon as I went to the backside, and it was totally dark, and I looked up at the stars, and it was a clear night, and it was unbelievable. And I'm just stumbling through the sagebrush, right? And I'm just like, unbelievable, right? And all of a sudden, I'm stumbling along for I don't know how long. Oh, look at that. just turned. I looked up and it was 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds, and now it's 2 hours and 5 seconds. So we're getting close to going into state, gang. And we're getting more people, and that's a good thing. So I'm going along, and all of a sudden, I stumble over something and fall down, and I hear this guy underneath me yelling, "Get off me! Get off me! Get off me!" And this is out in the middle of the desert. 40 miles this way, nothing. 40 miles that way, nothing. You know, 3 miles that way is a mountain, but there's still not. Surrounded by nothing for a good 40 miles in any direction. And I'm out in the middle of a gigantic flat mesa of sagebrush, and I fall on top of a guy. And I kind of jump up, and he's a little old man. I kind of pick him up, and because he's, a little old man, I kind of, "Sir, I'm sorry," and I'm dusting him off, and he's screaming at me, And then he stops, and he goes, "You work in that mine over there, don't you?" And I go, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "You can't stand it, can you?" "No, sir. Oh, it's like, He goes, he says, "Look up." And I look up, and this guy is full of stars. And he goes, "You were walking through the mesa with looking straight up, right?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Tonight is one of those nights where the stars are like amazing. I mean, they're always amazing, but there's no moon, there's no lights, the sky is super clear. Um, this is one of those nights. Maybe 10 nights like this a year, and that's why I came out to look at it. And I was looking. There's certain astronomical things going on that I wanted to see, and that's what I had my little binoculars, and I was looking at this stuff. And I was looking up the sky just like you were, but I was looking through binoculars, and I was stumbling through the sagebrush, and then you fell on top of me." He goes, "The odds of that are astronomical. It is obvious the great maker meant for us to be here." And he puts out, he goes, "My name is Grandfather David." I go, "I'm Al." He goes, "Great to meet you, Al. You're my grandson." I said, "Excuse me?" He goes, "That's what you're going to be, my grandson. You're coming home with me. You're going to live. You're not going to go back to that place. You want to go back to that place? You want to, you know, sleep in the bungalows?" I said, "No, no, no, no." He goes, "You want to eat that slop?" I go, "No, no, no, no." Because, like, you come, and I have this nice little slipstream trailer that'll be just perfect for you. It's got heat, got a great bed, it's got a bathroom, got privacy, and we can talk. So come on. So we go back, and again, he's got the 3 teapots, right? And he makes me a nice cup of number one. And that's like, wow, ooh, I feel much, much, much better. And then number two, expanding my mind. Woo! And then he tells me that all that what incurs with being his grandson. And I say, and basically he says, you are an adept. I can see it in your eyes. You just are here for this information. So I am going to put you through your shamanic training. This normally takes a lifetime, but I don't know how much time you got here, but whenever you're not working there, you're going to be with me, and we're going to be doing ceremony and studying shamanic energetics. And I go, yeah, I'm down with that, Grandpa. I'll call you Grandpa. Yep. So now I had like 3 grandpas. I had Doctor, I had Grandpa, Powell, and I had Grandpa. And that's, he was just Grandpa. He wasn't anything but Grandpa. So that first night, goes, "Do you ever meditate?" And I said, yeah, I know how to meditate. So he goes, "Good. Then I won't have to teach you. So let's go outside and sit under the stars. And it's going to be warm." And he does a little kind of thing that I had seen other shaman do. And we go out there. And when we met out there in the mesa, it was 40 degrees. And for, early summer in the desert of New Mexico and late at night, clear sky, 40 degrees is pretty warm. When we went out there, it felt like 70 degrees. I mean, it was comfortable to sit out there. 40 degrees if I didn't have my coat. Anyway, so this is where we're going to start our little shamanic journey. Okay, it's 2 hours and 4 minutes. Perfect. Okay, so everybody get comfy, sit in a chair, lie down, don't cross anything. Turn the lights off or down. Turn your phone off. Right? So we're going to have a very interesting little shamanic journey. See it clearly. I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and as I do, you're going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into a state of conscious relaxation. And you're breathing in 20%, and you're breathing out 30. Breathing in 20%, and you're breathing out 30. See it clearly. And 1, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of conscious relaxation. Your breath, you're breathing 20%. And by breathing in that 20%, you're causing your conscious mind, the Rolodex in your bag of water, to shut up, to stop rolling. Quiet down that squirrel in that cage, right? You're not thinking about extraneous anything, right? All you're thinking about is breathing 20% more. And you're breathing in the prana, which is energizing every cell of your body. See that clearly. See that prana going in, energizing your lungs, and the blood flowing through your lungs, taking that prana into the blood. The blood is swirling clockwise against the wall of the veins and the arteries and the capillaries. And inside that swirl, there's another swirl going counterclockwise and another swirl going clockwise. See it clearly. And 1, the conscious mind is totally focused now. You're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation. And you see that white light of the prana vibrating in every cell. You see your mitochondria being energized and transmitting that etheric energy into your field, right? And it's like going out. And you are now totally protected. And you are now totally in state. And you see yourself in your imaginary mirror, totally surrounded by white light, bright white light. And it's photonic light, not the gray mist of Lucifer's illumination. See it clearly. And you're taking that illumination and you're shining it into your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind isn't a scary place. Photonic light. Yep. That's the true light. Photonic light does not cause any shadows. Like when you're out in the sun, the light that's hitting you, about 20% is photonic light. That's the vitamin D that gives you life, right? So that's the light that's inside of you. You know, that is what creates DMT inside of you. And that is what creates positive endorphins. Now, Luciferian light, which comes out of a light bulb, or and neon light, invented by Nikola Tesla, is somewhat photonic. So it makes less shadows. See here clearly. And you're projecting this light into your subconscious mind, which is your library of your Akashic record, and you're now walking from your imaginary mirror through the mirror, just like Madame Olga Kluver's mirror. And if you go back and watch some of the other shows that I've done, I'm pushing on to past 200 of these productions. So there's a lot of information in there, right? And so you're illuminating your subconscious and you're walking into the library. In front of you is the big fireplace of the eternal flame. And then in front of that is your reading table, and coming from above and from every angle of the library is photonic light. There are no shadows, and that's what you notice most. Well, it's bright, but not hurting my eyes. There are no shadows, and I can't tell where this light is coming from. And then you look down at your reading table, and it's illuminated brightly, but not in a way that it hurts your eyes, but it gives you clarity. That light is so bright that whatever is put down on it, there'll be no shadows. You'll see it clearly. And behind that is this very comfortable reading chair that puts you kind of back straight up in such a way that you feel relaxed and comfortable and ready to read. See that clearly. And so you are sitting down, and to your left is your librarian, and to the left of your librarian is your animal totem, and to the left of your animal totem is your guardian angel. Your librarian brings you the information. Your animal totem is there. You can read things in your Akashic record, which is the text of your soul's and consciousness complete existence from the beginning of time. You are not just your avatar. You are not your bag of water. You are not your mud puppet. What you are is a consciousness held, protected in a higher state. And that consciousness has a free will. And what's the difference between Satan, Lucifer, all those demonic creatures, all of the extraterrestrials, like the insectoids and the reptiles, and now they're conscious, they're self-aware, but they don't have a free will. That's the difference. And that's what pissed Lucifer off. He was the most beautiful, the most best, the smartest ever. He was love's co-creation's #1 boy, but didn't have a free will. So he had to do everything with the plan, what love's co-creation. And in the beginning, everything is dark. What is dark? Well, you go look at the dictionary, it has all these very racist things about what dark is and what black is, with the motif of it being evil, but no, it's not. It's where it is what love's co-creation. And in the beginning, thing, all were dark, right? What is dark? It is the presence of every frequency of photonic light. Put them all together, the red, the blue, the green, the this, the that. Put them all together, it makes black. And out there in the universe, our five senses only can register 0.095% of anything. We are so limited, and we think we know everything, but we only know 0.095% of anything. The other 99.905% is what we now call dark matter. Back in the day, I used to call it ether, and then in the Nikola Tesla days, up to the moment they detonated Trinity, they called it vacuum, and that's what the Nazis called it anyway. And the Nazis, perfected zero-point energy and anti-grav and time travel in the 30s. And the people before them, before the mud flood, had it, right? And so there were elements. That's what the Thule Society, the Theosophical Society, the ISIS Foundation, all of those esoteric and occult things. They're not devil worship per se. I mean, everything in our universe is Luciferian. But those two things mean the study of hidden knowledge. And the shaman pursues the understanding of that to bring a frame that they can fit love's co-creation onto, that it can help cleanse and heal, because all that has to be done is that all our relations say, okay, we're done with this. We're ready for love's co-creation. And bango, we're back at square one. Back with the great maker. Back being part of the plan. But we have a free will. That's what Love's Co-Creation wanted. It wanted an entity that had a free will, like it did, not just be conscious, not to be self-aware, but to have a free will that could choose to be part of Love's co-creation, not just have to do it because the plan says so. And the thing that came out of this, that, and Love's co-creation knew this. Lucifer, number one boy, basically got so pissed off. How could you go for those? They're mud puppets. And he got so frustrated, his ego exploded, and that was the Big Bang. And now all creatures with a consciousness, we have an ego, but we don't have to have. We can have an egoless ego. We can choose that, and that's what that cartoon with Donald Duck, with the angel on this shoulder and the devil on that one. When you are choosing the angel, your better self, you're choosing to be having an egoless ego. When you're choosing the devil, it's like all ego. It's all about me. Why should I do that? I mean, I had to go there and be with my children, and it was so difficult, and I got nothing out of it. I mean, I had to spend all that money, and if why would I help anybody if I can't make any money at it? And I'm the best at this. Why would I talk to that person? They know nothing about what I'm best at. That's egomania. And all our politicians, everyone who's calls himself in authority are egomaniacs, nihilists, narcissists, and corrupt. We have the best legislatures money can buy. And once you get in there, they, oh, hey, you're cool. Hey, we want you to come to our party. So here, come to the party here at this hotel, right? And so you go there. Oh, here's a drink. Just like got a little something in it, a little something, something. Oh, do you like to smoke this stuff? Here, right? Well, that's dusted with a little something, something. So the next morning you wake up and your underpants are in your mouth and you're having sex with a creature that has horns and looks like a dog. And there's the movie camera taking the pictures. Right? So from that point on, you are owned, baby. And pretty much everyone who's looking just to be their ego, that's what happens to them. And that's, what do you think, Donnie Trump? Man, he was put in that position because he was the grand disruptor. He's the grand distractor. He's, Satan's number one boy. And so there's a book that was printed at the turn of the century about this young man named Baron Trump, who's a time traveler, and he is, got the 666 on his head. So this is an interesting show tonight because I'm giving you a pretty intense, pretty in-depth picture as I skip through this experience in my life, right? So there I am working at this disgusting mine, but I'm not living there. I'm with grandfather, right? And so you're now in your library. You are now in a state that you are free of all your disbelief. You're free of all your beliefs. You have an open consciousnness expressing your free will. And this is what is called as awake. Buddha's by the side of the road in his luminescence of consciousness. A traveler drunk goes, well, man, what are you do? You God. And Buddha goes, no. Well, what are you, man? What are you? I'm awake. This is a good time to have a wee dram, buddy. So, basically, you're at your seat, your librarian who brings you knowledge, brings you your Akashic record, you open it up. You take your right hand and you put it on the right blank page, and you take your left hand, you put it on the left page, and you lean into your Akashic record, and you vomit, you eliminate you evacuate all of the anger, all of the fear, all of the hatred, all of the self-loathing, all the Luciferian distraction and illusion out of your conscious mind. And now your conscious mind is free. It floats away like a bubble. And all that's left is your consciousness of your free will. And you're awake. You are awake. 2, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of conscious relaxation. You have eliminated all your fear and anger. You have eliminated all your toxicity. You have rested your avatar. It's sitting or lying down, but you're no longer connected to it whatsoever. It's on automatic. You have illuminated your spirit through your imaginary mirror. You've gone into your library. You have sat down at your reading table. Your librarian who brings you knowledge brings you your Akashic record. You have eliminated, you have evacuated all the anger, all the fear, all the hate, all the self-loathing. Your ego is no longer there because you're not connected to your avatar. You don't need your ego. Your ego is no longer there. Your ego has left the building. And your consciousness or conscious mind is kind of floating like a balloon, right? And your animal totem is holding a little string of your animal nature, of your avatar, of your bag of water, and taking care of it. And your angel is right behind you, wings opened up. You are totally protected, right? Now you are totally awake. You are totally conscious of your conscious self and your free will. And with your free will, you get up and you walk over to the shortcut into your lodge. And you walk into your lodge, and there around your fireplace is your lodge guide, and it's dressed like Grandfather David. And you're going, whoa. And I want you to see Grandfather David, see what he looks like. And he's there to take you into the shamanic teachings that I had for 2.5 months with him. And we're going to go through every ceremony. And it's now 2 hours and 22 minutes, and I think we should be able to get here since we're in a place that has no time. There is no linear time in your Akashic record. When you're in state, you're not in linear time. But we have all the time we need. See it clearly. And 3, you're sitting down with Grandfather David having a pot of tea. And first, you're having a cup of the number 1 tea that the old crone gave me. And that makes you physically strong, right? To be able to deal with any kind of experience, physically, emotionally. Anything that your vagus nerve would get involved with, this, strengthens it. Then you take another cup of tea with number 2, which basically strengthens your intellect. So everything you see, you can analyze forensically. You can look at it shamanically and as a psychosocial cultural forensic anthropologist. And at the end, you will be the alchemist that will turn your leadened Luciferian experience in this illusion of what is called the material world, that lead, into gold. And what is that gold? Is that spirit of your highest consciousness in free will, in total love's co-creation. See it clearly. And then you're having a cup from the 3rd pot. And this is the shamanic herbal tea, the ananas, the, mushrooms, the psychotropic, but way more powerful. starting to hear the rattle of ants. And whatever guide you have, whatever grandfather looks like, male, female, an ant or a turtle, or your beloved, it's your, not my grandfather. It is your grandfather. And like I said, whatever gender you can use because it's the Father. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespassing, as was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be. And that is, love's co-creation. But within that co-creation is, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for our sinners now and the hour of our death. Amen. Father is the prana that electrifies your everything. Mother is your chi that grounds everything to earth. See this clearly. And you're sitting in your lodge with grandfather, and you get up, and grandmother, and all your relations, and you all walk through a coat room, which takes you into grandfather's lodge, there on the mesa, on the backside of the snake goddess in Grants, New Mexico. And you look up, and we're outside in grandfather's backyard, and we're looking at the stars. I want you to see all those stars. I want you to go into those stars. I want you to see what that light is. All of those stars are photonic light on so many different frequencies. They're spiritual frequencies. They're shamanic. And this is the beginning of your understanding of the shamanic laws. You're going to be quiet. You're going to be sitting out there having a conversation with grandfather, looking up at the stars. And 3, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. Your avatar is totally disconnected from your conscious free will. See clearly, you are awake, and you're in the backyard with grandfather. And then he touches your third eye, and you find yourself helping him build a sweat lodge, setting the 4 directions, going into the woods and cutting down young saplings that have fallen to be the backbone of the lodge. And you collect all these and drag them to the site that you've set the 4 directions, and you help grandfather set the backbone. And then you go into grandfather's lodge, and there are great skins of buffalo, and you help him bring them out and cover the sweat lodge with the fur out and the skin on the inside. And then he brings out his tool box, which has things like tobacco tie material and scissors and string and tobacco, a blessed tobacco, his pipe, and smudge. And he and you smudge everything, lighting the sage and having the smoke go through yourselves and in the lodge. And then you go and bring firewood. You help grandfather bring firewood, and you bring rocks that can be fired, fire rocks. And so you build the fire, you put the rocks in the fire, and you have a big, long metal shovel that you can scoop up the rocks. And there is a stone circle in the middle of the lodge that you both put there. So there's a fire circle with a big fire heating up the rocks, and you move rocks into the lodge. 5, 6, 10 glowing, and then you come in to the lodge as naked as you want to be. Grandfather is naked all the way, and he's sitting on his blanket, and you have a blanket, and you sit on the blanket, and then you pray, and you drum, and you rattle. And then you sweat, and then you rattle. Then you sweat, and then you are so hot that you have to lie down, because the lower to the ground, the more you can ground your chi. So you lie your whole body on that cool ground while the air around you is hotter than any steam room, any jacuzzi, anything that you've ever felt before. And now you're no longer rattling, but you hear the rattle of ant. And you close your eyes, and you go into the ground, and in the ground is ant. And ant takes you into dreamland. And that's why I picked the name for this channel, Dreamy Dreamland. And that's where that's Ant's Lodge, Dreamland. And Ant not only shows you, because you can look at your Akashic record, who and what you are from the beginning of the Big Bang, all the way to the Alpha and the Omega. But what Ant shows you right now, what you are looking at right now, what you are consciously aware of, and your free will accepts this information, is what you are, where you came from, and what you're doing here. And that's the most important. Grandfather will ask you, did you have a vision? And you will respond, yes, Grandfather. He'll say, what was it? And you will say, I see why I'm supposed to be here. I see that I can see. I've opened my eyes. I am awake. And Grandfather says, I am happy, my grandson. This is the beginning of our travels. Aho. And 3, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. You have had a vision in the sweat lodge. And you and grandfather come out, and grandfather chose this spot because next to the lodge is a stream. And you and grandfather had dammed a part of it up, so right where the sweat lodge is, you can walk into water that is 5 foot deep. Now this is a mountain stream, so you're coming from a place that is the hottest place you've ever experienced, and you walk into that water, and you just walk into it, and you're like up to your belly button, and then you just dunk yourself all the way, and so does grandfather. And you stay under the water, and it is amazingly cold, because the difference of that hot sweat lodge to this water, that hot sweat lodge may be 120 degrees, maybe 200 degrees. This water is probably 38 degrees. It's like from the mountains that are still snowy. And it's rushing by you very quickly, and your eyes are closed, and you're underwater, and your eyes open up. And what do you see? You see Turtle right in front of you, smiling. And Turtle takes you by the hand and takes you deeper into the water, and fish are swimming by. And now you're in all of water, not just that stream, but all of Turtle's water. And you go into Turtle's lodge. See it clearly. And in Turtle's lodge, you hear the rushing of water, the rushing of time. And Turtle asks you, why are you here? And you got the answer from Ant. Why are you here? You are here to know yourself. And then Turtle asks you, well, how are you going to know yourself? And again, you go into meditation in Turtle's lodge with Turtle. And then you explode out of the water. You come up, and grandfather already has a blanket around him, and he's sitting by the fire. And he steps up, and he walks over to you, steps in the water, hands you his hand, and pulls you out of the water, puts a warm blanket around you that has been warmed by the fire, and then brings you over to the fire and sits you down at a comfortable space by the fire, and the fire is irradiating on you and warming you to perfection. And grandfather says, have you had a vision, my son, my grandson? And you say, yes, grandfather. I was with Turtle and I had a vision. What was the vision? Well, Turtle, just when I was scared that I might drown, took my hand and took me to his lodge. And as we walked, we went past all of our relations that were scaled, all of the fish, all the reptiles, everything that was in water and can go from water to air. And I saw there was nothing to fear of all our relations, because I've always had a fear of the water and those who dwelled in it. And then we went to Turtle's lodge. And in that lodge, I saw that I had nothing to fear. My vision was that there was nothing to fear, that all my relations were my clan. And no matter what clan they came from, I was their clan. For we all lived in the water of the great link. And we all served love's co-creation. See that clearly. And 3, you're sitting by the fire with the blanket that grandfather gave you, and you are telling grandfather of the vision you had with Turtle. And grandfather asks, so what did you learn from this vision? What did it tell you? What was the question that Turtle asked you? And you reply, grandfather, he asked me if I knew who I was, and Aunt showed me who I was. And I also said that by staying underwater with Turtle, going to his lodge, I realized that I had nothing to fear. And then Turtle asked me the question of, well, how will you stay in that state of being awake when you are surrounded by the illusion of materialism? And I realized the answer was the same as the vision, and that was to live, to be awake, is to have no fear. For everything in the material is an illusion, and the only thing that exists is love's co-creation. And my path is to, in every day and every way, take that piece of the earth that is all my relations, so I don't have to fear anything. And then grandfather turned to me and touched my third eye. And then we were on top of the mesa where I met grandfather on the dark side of the snake goddess. And we were at the base, and there was a fire burning there, and there was a small teepee around that fire. So there was a fire inside a tent. And we could hear the rain hitting the teepee. And there was grandfather, and there was smoke gets in your eyes bear. There was tricky rabbit. And there was stern, vigilant hawk. So grandfather says, grandson, it is time. And I said, grandfather, time for what? He says, it is time for the drum. And the rattle and the drum. Bear started to play the drum. It was a small drum. And he was playing it slow. And even though it was a high-pitched drum, he was getting a low tone out of it. And I said, grandfather, how does Bear do that? And grandfather replied, well, that is because Bear has smoke in his eyes and he can't see what drum he's playing. So he is playing it with his heart. And that is a heart drum that you're hearing. And Hawk was ruffling its feathers. And every time Hawk ruffled his feathers, a lightning bolt would crash outside. And I said, is Hawk doing that? And grandfather said, yes. You know, like how you rub your feet on a carpet and then touch this light switch and you get a spark. Well, that is what Hawk does with his feathers, but it's shamanic current, you know? It is that prana of life, all that gives life. That spark, that lightning, gives light, gives life to this world. Whereas love's co-creation gives love everlasting life. And in the shamanic, all of us practitioners have to serve the transition, the transmutation, the alchemical. All of us are alchemists, and we are working to take all that is fear, all that is hate, all that is self-loathing, all that is ego, and transmute it into love's co-creation. And why we are here is that you're going to climb to the top of the snake goddess. And Tricky Rabbit is going to take you there and be with you and show you the ceremony that you need to take. And I looked down at, Tricky Rabbit, and Tricky Rabbit touched my forehead, and we were already out of the teepee, already crossed the mesa, already at the base of the mountain of the snake goddess, and we were already halfway up. And we were, Tricky Rabbit was just bouncing from rock to rock to rock. And it was getting harder because it was raining hard, things were slippery, lightning bolts were flying all around us, I mean, right there, not like over there, but right there, right where we were. And I'm getting scared. And every time I would get, I would get scared, like I don't want to die, Tricky Rabbit would turn its head and smile at me and go, "Come on, let's go. It's going to be fun." And then he'd bounce up the hill. And every time we were going higher, at first I thought Tricky Rabbit was a guy. And then I thought he was young guy. And then every time he would be Tricky Rabbit and then come back as an elder, he would be a little different. And so he goes, "I want you to go forward. I'm going to stay here for a moment because I'm kind of tired. And you just go up as far as you can go." So I'm dutifully the adept climbing up this mountain, and I get to a point where I am rim-rocked. You know what rim-rocked, guys, is? Rim-rocked is when you're climbing a mountain and you get to a plateau or a space where you're somewhat, you lift yourself up there and you're somewhat safe. You're not like hanging on by your fingernails. You're kind of somewhat safe. You're sitting down, or you're able to stand up without falling over, or you're not in a mortal danger. But you can't go up, you can't go down, you can't go sideways. You just can't see anywhere to go. You can't move forward. You're stuck. All those folks who do the same thing over and over. Oh, I want to get back with my wife and my kids. And they're like in, New Jersey. And I'm here in, Hawaii. And every time I have to go see them, I have to take an airplane. And it's so difficult. They're living in her mom's house, and her mom hates me. And I just don't feel comfortable. There's nobody there, and I have no money. I have to stay in a terrible motel. And, it's, why am I doing that? I'm not making any money. I'm not, gonna, it's not good for my profession. And then you're stuck, because all I want is to be back with them, have them back with me here in Hawaii, and we can have it all the best it was. And I won't look at other women, and I won't say mean things to them, and I won't scream at them, and I won't scare them. It'll be great. And for 10, 20 years, all you do is say that, and then you go into a psychic break and you scream at everyone, and then you lock yourself in a closet. And you do that for almost forever, expecting a different outcome, but you do the same thing over and over and over again. That's what is getting to be rimrocked. So I'm up there, like I'm looking down, and the lightning bolts and the teepee is just this little teeny weeny, like it looks like that big down at the bottom, and I'm like way up there, and the wind is whistling, and now it's not just raining, it's sleet. So the rocks are getting icy, and at any instant I could slide off the thing. And then all of a sudden, and I'm freezing, right? And all of a sudden, a bright photonic light is a bubble. Boom. And this bubble rises from where Tricky Rabbit had been up to and floating in the air right in front of me, and comes over me and celestially covers me up. And it's no longer raining, and I'm dry. And the voice of the bubble is Tricky Rabbit. This is why Tricky Rabbit is Tricky Rabbit. And I said, "Oh, wow, you saved me." And Tricky Rabbit said, "No, this is just the beginning." And I said, "What do you mean it's just the beginning?" And he goes, "You have to stay up here until you can hear, Bear, blinded by smoke, playing the heart drum. But it's all the way down there. It's a little teeny drum." He goes, "You're going to be here in a long time unless you can hear it." And I said, "Well, are you going to stay here with me in the bubble?" And she goes, No. But I do have a present for you." And I said, "Present?" And she goes, "Like Christmas." And I go, and she goes, "Right behind you where you're sitting. Put your hand down." And it's either really dark and wet, or lightning bolts, and I can't see anything. So I kind of put my hand down, and what is there but a bag, a canvas bag. And I pull the canvas back out, and in it is a, you know what a faggot is? It's like a collection of sticks, things that are almost logs to kindling, right? It's just, a faggot is what starts a fire. And that's why in England they call cigarettes faggots, not gay people. Anyway, and why we call faggots is because we used to burn homosexuals at the stake. So I pull the faggot out, and there's a can in there, right? And there's wooden matches and a butane stick lighter and a little deerskin bag with what looks like sawdust, right? So he goes, "You're a fire starter, build a fire." So, and in that canvas bag is a big buffalo skin that, pulls out and goes over me. And I put the furry side on me and the skin side out. And I'm warm now. And it's big enough where I can put it on the stone I'm sitting on, and I can sit on the furry side, so I'm not wet. And it's so big that it kind of covers me up like a tent. So I'm still in the bubble, and I build a fire with the faggots, first with the kindling and then with the small logs. And, I take the butane fire stick, and I, put it on it. And I hear this kind of tittering like a little girl. And from outside the wall of the bubble comes a beautiful little girl that looks like a bunny little girl, right? And she's got a human face, and she's all furry, and she's got the ears, and she comes over, and she kind of pushes my hand away and takes the the fire stick, and she takes the you didn't look in the bag. I said, well, it's just sawdust. And she goes, watch this. So she sprinkles the sawdust on all over the fire, very thoroughly. And there's still half a bag left after she does that. And she takes the fire stick and she just places the flame on it. It goes, boom! And I smell inside the deerskin bag, and with the half of, and what I realize is that is sawdust mixed with gasoline. So it catches everything on fire. The kindling goes up really nice. The logs kind of really burn up, and it kind of falls onto itself, just as it should, as I was taught it should, and it turns into coals. Then I place more kindling on top of that, and I put the largest logs on top of that, and it is now a raging, well-established fire with coals, right? And she goes, oh, I'm going to leave you now, and you're up here to meditate and to project your heart to connect with the heart drum that bear is playing. And that's what you're here to do. So I kind of say, okay, and so, boop, Tricky Rabbit is gone. And it is sleeting, it is raining, the lightning bolts are crashing feet from me, but I'm covered in this buffalo skin, and I'm dry, and I'm warm. And that fire is burning nice in my little canvas bag of goodies, and there's things to eat and a little thermos, something to drink, and it's tea, warm tea. And these are biscuits, hardtack biscuits that one of the guys had made, and they have cayenne pepper in it, right? And so they got that warmth, right? So I'm meditating, and it's like hours, days. And the teepee's down there, and I don't hear the drum. And I drink some of that tea, and I eat a little of that hardtack, and the fire's still going, and I'm warm. But the lightning bolts are everywhere, and there's like now sleet, ice forming on the skins around me and on all the rocks. I mean, if I were to get up, I would, whee! It's like my driveway is right now. If I try to drive my car down that, as soon as I would go just an inch into that ice, and it's like 2 miles, and it's on this kind of rake, even, if I put the brakes on, the vehicle will still just slide on that ice. I'm not going nowhere from Ice Station Zebra here until it gets warm and the rain comes, pretty much. And it's already been almost, we're going on our second week here, being, cabin fever. And so I just go, okay, meditate, get out of myself, let go of my ego, let go of doing the same thing over and over again. Let go of me being rim-rocked. And then all of a sudden I hear the drum, boom, boom. And it's not the little tiny high-pitched drum, or not even the lower cadence that bear had gotten out. I hear the drum in my heart. And as soon as that happens, I become that yellow bubble of warmth and love of Tricky Rabbit. It's all around me. Tricky Rabbit isn't the bubble anymore. I am. And I visualize being down in that teepee with the elders, and I'm there. And I'm sitting in front of their fire with the, buffalo skin around me, and the canvas bag kind of stuck in here with the thermos and the hardtack biscuits. And my eyes open up, and Grandfather says, so did you have a vision? And I said, yes, Grandfather. He goes, what was it? And I said, it was a connective tissue to the other visions that we've had. And this one was not only not to be scared, not only to know myself, not only to be in service to love's co-creation, but by creating with love's co-creation, my vehicle of conscious awareness of free will, I can no longer be held, restricted, incarcerated by the Luciferian illusion of the physical. I am no longer rim-rocked. And then Tricky Rabbit said, "So, why don't you get those biscuits out? I'm hungry." So there it is. 3 hours and 30 seconds. And so I think this is a good place to stop. And I would love to hear, let's go back into the chat and read that, and we'll bounce off that with any kind of questions or things that you want to ask me. Amen. I do not say amen. Say verily. Yeah. They are round waves, all like a sound. It's raining here, and it's cool, and it's beautiful. Yeah, well, it's nice for you, buddy. I would love some rain here to get rid of the ice. Guys, do me a favor. Visualize tonight, tomorrow, into Thursday, the rain, it warming up and getting rid of all of the ice. I mean, totally no little patches, so I can drive out of here because I got to get my eyes operated on Thursday afternoon. And then visualize, my eyes being healed, so I don't have to keep going and get that big needle every 90 days. See it clearly. I'll bring some willow. Yep. And we make the lodge out there at the Big Green. We'll do it together. All of us. The cadre, the clan. The shock troops of love's co-creation. All we say is we say it together. Yep. And the first nightclub that we are going to have, that will have a cafe in it, the cafe will be the No Fear Cafe. And the nightclub is going to be called the Milky Way, after all those stars. Oh, Fish, you'll love my deep green because there's a bear that comes visiting me, and he's very sweet. She is very sweet. She stays on the other side, so she never comes in my space, but she loves to come by and hang out. Yep. Your humble frog is a godchild of turtle. Yes, but whenever we take people to our nest, as I've been doing now for a few months, when we go into state, that's what I am doing. I'm taking you to my nest. Yep, go pick up the husband, Fish. Yep. Boo-foo, yep. Good to see you. Oh, I love the UK. I got married in the UK, in Woking. Welcome. Welcome home. Oh. What was that? What is our common call to love that I got from Battlestar Galacta? All we say we say all. So all we, buddy, what is it? Somebody help me out here. For love is the only thing that matters. All that we say. So say we all. Thank you, buddy. So say we all. Love is the only thing that matters. So say we all. We saw a small meteor fall from the sky, landed in front of me. Gramps looking at the stars. So say we all. Aho. Pusha, sha. Aho. So say we all. I'll be wearing bells when you show up, buddy. Aho. Thank you, fish. Yes. Billy, you got it right. Nanciote. Yep, So say we all, Billy. So say we all. Fish, there is no trapping. Remember, no fear. And fish, there's a good portion of the clan that lives everywhere. So we're going to go everywhere. So say we all. Aho. So here we are at 3 hours and 7 minutes. Yep, Buddy's never trapped. So say we all. Anyway, so I will start to slowly count backwards to bring us back. Aho. Hey there, G. Just close your eyes and soak in the love. And that's what's beautiful. You can jump in on the chat and the going in state at any time. And you're there. And it's always on YouTube, right? Yeah, poor Elvis was caught in a trap. And pretty much anybody who goes into that level of the entertainment world, I mean, that thing is so satanic, so demonic, so, again, the Illuminati aren't the top dogs, but they do practice their ceremonies. So say we all, and they're not like the ones we are practicing, because going into state, going into your Akashic record, going into your lodge, going into all those worlds that are connected through your tree of knowledge, not the fruit, but the tree, is the fact that you are serving humbly love's co-creation with your free will, meaning you're not doing it because it's part of a ceremony or a dogma or a protocol or a belief. You're doing it with your free will at every moment. And every day and every way, you're taking the piece of the earth and making it stronger with love's co-creation. Yep. So we don't have to be trapped by the material world, because we have all our relations. Chokes me up. all our relations, so say we all. And we have so many tools. You know, you have a profundity. Tonight you learned how to go into spirit travel and have a vision. And you can manufacture the DMT you want, of the hallucinogen, in your, consciousness, right? You don't have to buy it on the street. Because whatever you buy on the street comes from the material illusion, and you can't tell what it is. That's why you have bad trips on that brand acid. And going into state, I mean, practice makes perfect. There's so much information. There's so much, so many friends. You know, we're all here. All your relations are here. Yep, every day is a birthday with these thoughts. So say we all. And do not get, like, as I started out this story about talking about going to Los Alamos and going to those, all these lectures that, I wasn't read in, but I was given the 411 on what was allegedly coming. And that's why we were building all these underground facilities and creating all this amazing technology that would give freedom to all of humanity. But no, we can't do that, because that power of that technology needs to be with the elite, not with the expendables. And that's what happened. Again, I started out with telling you guys the story of the mud floods. Go just Google mud flood, right? Mud flood and Mandela, what do they call it? Mandela effect. Those two things go hand to hand together. Sounds dirty. No. Did you ever go to a rainbow gathering and be a mud person? Being a mud person is great. Not a mud puppet, mud person, or being part of the mud clan. So you take all your clothes off, and it's in a place like a forest that is raining. All there is mud. You can't walk on the path without whee! So instead of like freaking out and getting upset that you just, slid, 200 yards in a mud bath and you're covered in mud, and if it's warm, what you do is you take off those muddy clothes, you kind of stick them on a rock, let the rain wash them, and then you go roll around in the mud and cover every part of you. And you keep doing that until the sun comes out, and then it bakes that mud to a nice crust. And then that's when you really, really can have a vision with Turtle, because then you feel just like Turtle, So 3, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. You're in your avatar, your bag of water, your mud puppet is totally rested and safe and secure. But your conscious free will is in that teepee with the Hopi elders. And you're enjoying that great biscuit, that corn meal biscuit with cayenne pepper in it, right? And you have that number 3 tea of the old crone. You're knocking it back with those guys, and you are in a temporal zone. That teepee is it's a pyramid, so it's a temporal zone. And you bring out the other drums and you start ceremonially drumming and singing. And I will be quiet for that, and I will be singing and drumming next to you. I will be in that teepee. See me clearly. See the stars in my eye. And those stars are in your eyes. See it clearly. See the stars in our eyes. We come from the stars. Hey, oh, see it clearly. And 3, your grandfather and you step up, and he touches your third eye. And you're now next to his house, and it's a sunny afternoon, and you're about to leave his side. But know that you can always go to your elder's side by simply going into state, going into your Akashic record, emptying all the anger and fear, evacuating all that darkness that is, say, Lucifer's foggy light. It's not the black of love's co-creation's matter. It's the fogginess of distraction, the fogginess of not being able to see. See that clearly. See how you can see. Oh, oh. Oh, hold that stone for all our relations. Hold that stone for our connection of love's co-creation. So we all say, so we all say. We're there with you, oh. As we all say, we all have a big lump of love that our hand puts in our heart. So we all say. And 3, you're now in your lodge, and grandfather is sitting right where you were sitting. And you realize your guide of your lodge is that spirit of grandfather that you saw on this vision quest. The guide of your lodge is your guide of your vision quest. See that clearly. That is the lesson for this evening's going into state. See it clearly. And then you walk into your Akashic record where your librarian, your animal totem, and your guardian angel standing there to the left of your reading table. And they have this look of great joy and grace and sharing of the hope that you've just experienced, and having the knowledge that there is nothing to fear in your life. There is no end times, no, cops coming, no any of the above. Because none of that is real. It's an illusion. The only truth, the only real thing is love's co-creation within the presence of all our relations, our cadre, our chorus, and we who go into state, the shock troops of love's co-creation. See it clearly. And now you're walking into the light of your imaginary mirror. And all that we have, we share with each other with love. We live in a community of abundance. not one of scarcity. When we come together in abundance to in every day and every way take the peace of the earth and lessen the scarcity of all our relations until everyone is ready to, with their free will's consciousness, co-create with love. See it clearly. Gee, that is a beautiful thought, and we will in every day and every way lead by example. In this moment of animation, let's connect in every day and every way in co-creation. Here allow, witness love's vibration in every day and every way. Let us take the peace of the earth. Let's reflect in all our relations. Aho. So say we all. Aho. Continental now, forever and ever. Amen. So say we all. So am I, fish. So say we all. It's been 3 hours and 21 minutes. And that was a good one. Good night, everyone. I'm going to wait till 3:22:22, and I will say good night. Sweet, sweet dreams to all my friends. Sleep tight, sleep tight. Every night we come together in dream time, dreamland. Sweet, we sweet, we sweet. Step and brush away all the illusions of fears, non-existence. Sweet, sweet dreams to you. Bye, Cadre. Till tomorrow morning, 7-ish, somewhere between 7 and 9 Eastern Standard Time. And whatever time that is your land. And again, you don't have to, you can be there, but you can go on the YouTube and look at it in our history. And this is Simonically powered, and there is no time, so you'll be right there. And you can get a hold of me at thedudeawake42 at Gmail, and go read my stuff, all the newbies. I have a blog. It's called xratted.blogspot.com. It's set up to be a publishing frame. Of course, I have no idea how to use it, but I put up a 3/4 of one novel. And all my writings are shamanic, meaning you read my stuff, you will get more stoned than any drugs you use. And you have to read it maybe 6, 10, 20 times. But the first time, you just jump in the pool and read it quickly. Don't stop. Like, what do you mean by that? Just zip through it. And the novel, I only have 3/4 of the novel. The other quarter I didn't put there. I didn't want to, A, have any spoilers, B, overpower you. And the 3/4 of this, there's 6 cuts. I call them cuts instead of whatever people call them. They're cuts, like a cut of sirloin, a cut of deer meat, a cut of fish. And it's the flesh of the matter, right? And it's a shamanic ceremony. And if you go on xratted blogspot.com, it may come up as the, cut 1 through 6, or it may come up 6 and 4 and 3, whatever. You can read them individually, and they're no longer than 30 pages each. So pick one, read it. They all have interesting tales and stories, just like you've heard tonight. And it will put it in logos, the writing, the spell. And I break the spell. So you can see that. And you read it, and the spell that a Logos has done to you for all these centuries will be broken by reading this. That's why I put it up there. And again, get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42. I'd love to hear from anyone. The email is good because that's you can. What I love what you do, you put all kinds of things for me to go, links for me to see, because I'm not the best at, I'm an old dog learning new tricks. I'm not getting stuck. I've got all this stuff going in my own kind of clunky way, and now you're here, and we're taking it forward step by step, and this is the beginning, right? And where this is going to be. Another thing I would suggest is there's a book about Anastasia, and it's a series of 7 or 9 books, and it's about this Russian woman who is amazing, and she met this guy who was just Mr. Businessman, and she changed his life. They got married, had a kid, and he wrote these books. And they got translated into English miraculously in a very good translation, because Russian is a very interesting language. We'll have a talk on that. Mine is getting back on track, so bear with me. Buddy, and everyone in the shock troop of Love's co-creation, there is no need to say you're sorry. There is no, we all are, so say we all. We're all there to support each other. We're all, somewhat restricted by our exposure to the illusionary world. So, exactamundo. So, you go do, travel forth. Free will's connection to Love's co-creation. Okay, so here it is, 3 hours, 27 minutes in. And I'm going to wait till it's 27 seconds, which is almost so way we all. Love you guys.